everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Alex Navarro, how are you?
This is the most Matt Rory intro you've ever given. Hello, everybody!
Hello, and welcome to this podcast. Matt Rory, huh? That's
I don't know. For some reason, just in my mind, it's always him going, hello!
Sure. Okay, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine that. Brad Shoemaker.
I didn't realize there was so much of a warble involved in a good Matt Rory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A warble.
Yeah. I talked to him not that long ago. I hope all Matt's doing okay out there, as much as anybody can be doing the okays out there. You know what?
He's still properly petting a bunch of puppies.
Good.
If his social media is anything to go by.
As well it should be.
Always. That's how I know the world is still spinning.
Mm-hmm.
Man alive. Video games, I love them.
You heard about him?
I don't think I have felt as stressed out about the pile of unfinished video games that I feel like I am accruing.
There's a lot.
Like a real, I don't know what I'm going to do.
They're starting to collect at the bottom of the ship, and they might actually be, affecting our buoyancy here.
I'm just I am I got Avowed sitting here. I got Assassin's Creed sitting here. I got oh my gosh, this game is really good. I'm going to keep going with this. And
I'm going to take time off from the single player games I'm playing to check out this alpha that only runs for a week. And oh God, another alpha just landed in my inbox before that first one even ended.
There's 3 point-and-click adventure games, the Wadjet I1 being one of them. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. So I'm feeling a little stressed out.
A lot of stuff. Look, just let it go to an extent,
No,
play the things you want to play.
Play what you want to play for as long as you want to play it and feel unencumbered by any sense of obligation.
What kind of bullshit you peddling, man?
I'm not saying I practice it.
Unburden yourself of the necessity to complete all things.
This is just a thought experiment that describes what it might be like to not feel like you have to play all of every video game you ever encounter in your life.
What have you done with Brad Shoemaker, and how much do we have to pay you to let him free? Just blink twice.
This is the me from the first half of 2003 talking, which was the last time that I actually felt that way.
No, it's a good problem to have, because I do feel like when the lights go out, I'm right between paralysis analysis on my game playing, where I'm like, no, I want to go play this. There is going to come a time where I just sit with 3 controllers in my hand and then do nothing because I don't know which one I should boot up, right? So it's a blessing that Nintendo fucked me on a pre-order.
In a way.
It's their fault. I feel like they intentionally locked me out of every site.
Same.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll get to that.
I was targeted, and I dare you to provide evidence otherwise. So yeah, a lot of time playing games now, a lot of late nights playing games. Game season is upon us. The hits are coming. Let's just jump into it, because we do have a lot.
Never ends.
We got a lot to get through here. So something that we've had for a little bit here that I didn't get a chance to get into until this week, but the game is coming out this week also. Skin Deep.
Skin Deep.
Blendo's Skin Deep.
My first Blendo.
my first Blendo.
I've never played a Blendo game before. I mean, I've been aware of them forever.
Yeah.
Since, okay, you tell me, it was a Gravity Bone and then 30 Flights of Loving and then Quadrilateral Cowboy. Is that right?
Gravity Bone might be a little too early for me.
Yeah, Gravity Bone, I think, is the only one I haven't played.
Wow, they've made way more than that.
Okay.
Flotilla 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I do remember that.
Atom Zombie Smasher sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah,
I did play that.
Oh, that's like a prehistorical, that's a pre-first person game from the looks of things.
It's a relic.
Because I mean, these last few, including Skin Deep, have been very immersive sim-ish, right?
Yes.
Aren't the previous 2, 3 pretty similar to what Skin Deep is?
I mean, Quadrilateral Cowboy, yes, but at the same time, a lot of it was rooted very much in touch the computers, do computer stuff, fake computer code, things like that.
Oh, right. Is it more so of that than Skin Deep is?
Much more so, yes.
Okay, I need to go play that then. Because
no, that's the one for you if ever there was one.
That's right. You're right. I remember now hearing that was the vibe of that game, and that absolutely is something I should go play.
But Skin Deep, boy, where to even start with Skin Deep? It's like
that game's awesome.
It's delightful.
I'm quite delighted by it. Yes, it's very funny.
It's like
genuinely funny.
someone wanted to make No One Lives Forever, and by way of Warren Spector, by way of
sure.
I don't know.
It's a little System Shocky, maybe a bit,
but like
yes,
Looney Tunes System Shock.
There is some Nolf in there now that you mention it.
So the setup is you are you an insurance? You're what do you?
Yeah, you're a spacefaring insurance adjusting agents type
for a world full of space cats.
Yes,
among other things.
In a world of spacefaring cats.
Yeah,
and the humans. They're human pirates. They're taking over spaceships crewed by cats.
Very lovable,
and torturing them,
but talking cats, like
yeah. The number of references to cat torture are way funnier than it sounds like it should be,
because they don't really show them horrifically torturing the cats for the most part.
Also, the example given in dialogue of what extreme cat torture would be is shaving the cat.
Right? I mean, it's against
they don't like that
Geneva Convention.
So, yeah, they're not fans.
I mean, what is that line in the tutorial? It's like, hurry up, you Bojo. We're going to be late to go torture this cat.
I do like Bojo because I am a fan of the word Bojo. And Bojo, for me, the only place was Back to the Future Part 2 is McFly, you Bojo. Those boards don't work on water.
Yes.
You need without power. You need power. So hopefully they're taking a common inspiration there.
Yeah.
So
all the human pirates have, what are they called? Skull preservers. They all wear helmets that when they die, their head gets popped off and preserved, and their head will slowly float back to these pads on the ship that will regenerate their body while their heads are laughing at you.
Or cursing
as they lazily,
you. Yeah.
Well, they curse you if you're holding them.
Yeah, you can just take the head back.
So the idea is to go grab the floating head before it gets back to the pad and regenerates a body, and then throw it down the trash chute or flush it down the toilet.
Or set it at the airlock, whatever.
And the head is like cursing you, and it gets all muffled. If you move it out of your active slot.
Yeah.
Into your inventory, then you can hear it kind of in a muffled way, still cursing at you before you. Yeah.
And that has gameplay considerations because, you are trying to be stealthy in these missions. And so, the muffled version probably isn't going to alert a guard. But if you have that thing out, like any guard happens to be nearby, it's going to come running.
So your character, Nina Pasadena, she,
good name.
She's got, great name. It's like, this universe is extremely silly. I think when she has a third lung that allows her to be outside. I'm pretty early on, so I haven't gotten to the main chunk of it.
It took me a couple levels to be willing to just go out the airlock to find, and you have to. I think
they kind of force you.
It's only like you
have to.
It's only like the second level before you have to do that to even get a valid route. But like I just couldn't at first. I was like, I don't care what nonsense about third lungs you're giving me. I can't just willingly step into the void, but sure enough, you have to.
So the game, at least in the parts that I've played so far, and it's very early on, Brad, it sounds like maybe you've gone further, Alex, than I
think I'm about
the
same place you are, Vinny.
Not a ton further, but I'm past the like big musical intro and everything.
So the initial setup is basically you get these vignettes or these ships that you are kind of put into to go run a mission. Usually what I've had to do so far is just release the cats from their little prison boxes. And they're a systems game. These people are patrolling the ship. There's a lot of interactable objects like turn the gas on, turn the gas off, turn water fountain on, do this stuff.
Things are flammable. Things are slippery. I assume like electrical conductivity will appear at some point. You can pick up a smelly attribute if you go through the trash chute, and then the guards can smell you.
Yeah, you sneeze when you're in the vents, alert the guards. There's but it's an extremely silly world. So there are a lot of notes posted all over the world. That have dopey messages, funny, if you will, humor, hard in video games, but I found the humor here pretty good so far.
Environmental joke telling is hard to pull off. They are doing it.
And you're kind of just knocking out or ejecting the heads of these guards to go get keys and free these cats, or not. I guess you could just do the whole thing without interacting with the guards if you really want to, but
though sometimes the keys are on the guards, it seems like, so you do have to do something.
They're all named William is gone. Flush a head down a toilet. William is left the ship, and then Nina Pasadena has like a kind of a cool relationship with these spacefaring cats. Like you get emails from them like, yeah, Nina, like you're awesome. Like,
yeah, and there's some goofy shit going on when you get past the villain reveal.
Oh yeah,
like you'll see. Like
again, that's pretty early, so I'm still fairly early in the game. But yeah, I like the relationship. You get these emails that are like, "Ah, man, it's Dusty. I'm skateboarding cat, and like we should go skateboarding at some point."
One of the cats wants to sell you some head of cattle.
Yes, right.
One of the cats is a rancher. One of them is a skater.
One of them's a goth.
Skateboard cat.
Skateboarding cat wants to teach you some cat tricks. And
Can't do those.
One of the viable responses is like, I'm a human. How am I supposed to do cat tricks?
Yeah, it's not that humans can't do cat tricks.
Those cats also love to send emails.
Yeah, I don't know if things change up later on in terms of any permanency for like outside the missions, because I didn't see any like tech tree or put points into this thing. So is it just the thing that you're dealing with ever increasing machinations and increases in security inside the ship?
I mean, it's extremely a sandbox immersive sim style thing. So I would assume pretty much all of the tools are going to be in a level. Like it's all going to be found stuff more or less, I would assume.
Or maybe once in a while you'll get an item that you send away for you get some money and send away for like the camera. But
yeah, there's been like a fair amount of just like fun systemic stuff to run into so far. Like I did the deodorant and lighter bomb trig.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I've done that.
And it blew up like half of the stuff in the room around the person I threw it at.
Okay.
Which caused all kinds of shit to happen all at once. Like it blew up like all the toilets and sinks that were nearby, so I couldn't use those anymore. The guy's head, I guess, must have incinerated because it got warped back to the lost and found box, so I couldn't just go grab the guy's head off where his body died because it had gotten burned up, and so that was where the head had floated out of the lost and found box and was slowly floating toward the regeneration pad and laughing about it. I had to run halfway across the ship to find that and stop him before he got regenerated, because the enemies have a lot of health. Like, if you do the right things, you can take the health down pretty quickly, but you can't just like run up and shank them or whatever. By and large, like I've found, you take damage pretty fast. Yeah. If they spot you, they release those flying like fish robot things with spotlights.
Oh, I haven't gotten those yet.
I've gotten those.
You haven't seen those?
No.
Oh man, I've tripped so many alarms, and yeah, like they have these little search and destroy, like I think they're called swordfishes because they fly, but they look like robot fish, but their head is just a big sword. It's just like a giant knife sticking out.
They don't have a lot of health, but they can get up on you.
And there's an injury system in this game. I assume you've seen, because you can get shot,
in my foot,
impaled, glass in your foot, and those have like status effects and also mess with your health. And so the first time one of those swordfish was out, along with a guy who was shooting at me, and I was just freaking out and running. The swordfish like disappeared at some point. They'll if they see you, they'll like target you and try to go at you. And I was like, after I got out of the firefight and hid and lost the guy, I was like, where the fuck did that swordfish go? And then I noticed I was impaled. And then I went through the thing of like, pull out whatever's impaling you. And I pulled out the swordfish.
Ew.
The whole enemy was stuck in me.
Ew. Was it dead when you pulled it out?
I think it was inert when I pulled it out. Okay. I don't think it reactivated and started flying around again. I think it was. But that was still a cool moment of like, oh, I lost track of that enemy because it was stuck in me. Like the thing that had triggered this injury mechanic was the entire enemy just hitching a ride. Like it's,
I'm sure this will change soon enough. Again, like once I get past this next bit I'm in, but I've mostly just been throwing the pepper on the floor, and
that's
then
a good
one. Riding hop on the guys and bash their heads into the wall.
I also had the moment of like, am I relying on the pepper too much? I'm starting to feel a little rote here. Like I should be thinking more creatively than this.
So pepper, and then sometimes accidentally I would smash a guy into a fuel line, and then accidentally then smash him into an electrical panel and blow everything up. Yeah, you get some armor in the mission. You get a couple of helmets and stuff like that. But the thing, some of it feels a little loose. Some of it feels like, oh, okay, I clipped through this wall. I went through a piece of glass once, and I just had to break my way back through it.
Yeah, there's a couple of things like that. I had a swordfish bot get stuck to me at one point. Like, it wasn't damaging me, but it was, like, obscuring part of my view to the point where I was just like, I just need to reset this level because I can't get rid of this thing. It's not doing anything, but it just seems kind of broken. I've also found the healing mechanic to just be a little dodgy in the heat of everything. Like, they kind of want you to, like, hold the tab button down, then select the specific injury that you have, which sometimes you have multiple injuries. Like if you have multiple gunshot wounds or broken glass or whatever, you kind of have to figure out which one is doing the most bleed out damage. And it's a little hectic for what some of those circumstances can be. It's not like broken, but it just feels like it's not elegant.
I mean, it was like literally my first enemy encounter ever past the tutorial went to complete shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I was,
Okay.
I was like, man, this game is punishing if you figure it out, you know,
Yeah.
you figure
Yeah.
out how to escape, how to hide, how to like turn off the alarm so they stop chasing you. But yes, it can get on top of you pretty fast.
None of it is
And-
like that hard, but it's just complicated enough.
Well, like I found a little bit, some of it kind of loose. Like when you're
Yeah.
piggybacking on a guy, the controls get a real like higgledy-piggledy a little bit, like
yes.
trying to find a thing to smash
To ram his
somebody's
head
head
into. I've also found it's not. You don't have to be super exact with that. Sometimes I
No.
feel like I'm not hitting the actual
Yeah.
target of the thing I'm supposed to ram into, but it still does the damage.
Yeah, but it's pretty fun and silly.
Yeah,
And I think I just like the universe.
Yeah, tonally, I love it.
It's genuinely funny, not like video game, not like funny for a video game. Like it's just, I like how compartmentalized the levels have seemed so far. I don't know if they get much bigger later, but it's not like one giant spaceship you're in. It's very small, self-contained levels, and each ship has only been like 4 or 5 rooms so far. So you can kind of like very thoroughly explore each space.
And it's been pretty generous with the map, you know.
Yeah,
like,
Yeah, all the back and forth for like finding the passcodes for different things you have to unlock, and like
I had a little trouble finding some of the notes.
the little breadcrumb trails they leave for like. I found it very A to B so far. Like in a lot of cases, you have to find the right first thing. You know, it's like, okay, if you find a certain node, it'll make pretty explicit where the next node is that has
like
the
the
actual
lighthouse
information.
one, the
Right.
beacon one.
Mhm.
But if you come into that midway and like only find the second one and miss, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you don't start at the start of the breadcrumb trail, you might have a hard time finding it.
So that level, I think it's the second or third tutorial level. I could not find one of the passcodes. I think it was the window unlock fuse box passcode. It said it was in the vents, and I looked all around inside the vents. I just could not find it. Do you guys remember finding it?
Yeah, but I can't remember which events it's in.
I think I ended
Okay.
up beating that level before I even really started looking for that. Because
Okay.
I freed both the cats before I even really found myself needing the windows for any reason, so I just never went back to it.
There are little sub objectives in each one that's just like, do you want to 100% these? And like, you know, sometimes so far they've just seen, again, pretty early on, 2 or 3 levels, like fun story bits more than anything else. Like, oh, this is a fun little silly bit to get more story here because the cats are, you know, under siege by these pirates and the resistance is on the ship. So, but the notes can be, the notes are sometimes hidden in places that are a little tough to find.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for the most part, unless the game really pushes you in a direction later on, I would suspect it would. I need to just stop grabbing all the pepper. It's so effective.
Mhm.
And
Especially
they just get
'cause
stunned.
there are vending machines in some cases where you can kind of just get unlimited pepper, I think.
Yeah, and they tutorialize the pepper in a pretty explicit way that's like, hey, you could just use this. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's probably an early game thing now that I think
Yeah.
about it. I'm sure that they like, we should give them unlimited pepper until they get their feet wet.
or don't get them wet because you'll get electrocuted.
Yes.
Yeah.
I slipped on some soap a couple of times. You know,
Yep.
it happens. It
Yeah, I
happens.
overloaded the washing machines. That was fun.
I think mostly for this game, I think the tone is carrying me a lot.
Yes. The soundtrack is really good. You know, it's not exactly like how every other Blendo game looks, but it's pretty close to it. And I've always enjoyed their art style. And
Especially the cats.
Yeah, and the cats are great. And like I think the tone of the thing is exactly what they're going for. Like they have nailed the goofiness of it. And, you know, the tool set they have given you within that immersive sandbox is again some of the most Looney Tunes shit they could possibly give you. I appreciate a slapstick fucking immersive sim. That is a great idea.
Yeah, like the look and the writing and the humor, like all that stuff is really good. It's the interactivity though is the thing that's really got me interested in actually playing it though. Like I think their what do you want to call it? Their scanning mechanic is brilliant.
Their
Like you hit
eyeball,
Yeah.
Like you hit shift to go into kind of a scanning mode, and then basically anything in the environment that you can read, you can just zoom in on from wherever in the room, like right up in your face in a really like, it's not quite Looney Tunes, but there is something a little comedic about the way the camera just like zooms right up across the room too.
Yeah, just crash zooms in.
And there's a lot of like pay stubs and like corporate memo-y type or like safety warning stuff. There's a lot of labels and documents to read, you know. It's like you're always going to be zooming in on the like, here's the warning label on the deodorant that describes how it's flammable, and
right.
just happens to be describing how you use the item as well. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, it's a good subtle way to instruct the player on what this thing will do while keeping it in universe.
Yeah, but that whole scanning zoom thing, I think, is extremely well implemented.
Except that not always. Again, I'm very early on. Do you guys hit it to run?
Yes,
still?
I still have not quite trained myself to stop hitting shift to try to run when the shit goes down.
I think the control layout makes a certain amount of sense once you spend some time with it, but at first I was definitely struggling against it because there are some things it asks you to do, like, for instance, left mouse click isn't the interact most of the time, it's E. So it's like, I'm just not thinking of that necessarily instinctively.
Like it took me a while to figure out how to interact with like the passcode panels because I kept just clicking the buttons with the left mouse. Because that's how I would intuitively think you would do it. Which brings me to my last point about this game, which there's like a whole bundle of things here. Can't believe I'm saying this. It's a little bit of a bummer that it's locked to 60 frames a second. But it's because this game is running on the Doom 3 engine.
Amazing.
Which is locked to 60 because that's like the world sim. Also runs at 60 hertz, which is why the frame rate is capped. But that also brings some other Doom 3 specific things with it. Which... one of my low-key favorite things about Doom 3, which was way bigger of a deal in 2004, was you could just walk up to the computers in that game and just use them without having to like load into
mouse would snap into it. Right?
Yes, like your gun reticle would just become a mouse cursor when you walked up to the computers. So this game straight up is just using that to make you interact with computers and stuff in this, which is awesome. It's also got the Doom 3 lighting and shadowing system, which is actually like pretty useful for gameplay stuff because like I said, those swordfish things have spotlights. Like there's been numerous cases where I was able to tell an enemy was coming because I saw their shadow coming around the corner before they did and stuff like that. Like I found the lighting to be really and the shadows to be like very gameplay relevant here. So it's like kind of awesome to see them using this old open source engine, using some of those tricks to enhance the game.
You guys have any idea how big this game is?
Like how long?
Oh, just like number of levels?
Or like, do you hit a story part and then you just get like random, like procedural levels or something? Or is it just the narrative part? Like,
I don't know. I bet it's self-contained.
Asking
like
for a friend so he knows how much time commitment.
I think like the clockwork nature of the levels probably means they're all hand designed, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I don't get the impression there's much procedural generation going on with this stuff. The thing I will say is that Blendo has never been known for making super long games. I mean, 30 Flights of Loving is like a 40-minute game, or maybe less than that.
Oh, wow.
Quadrilateral Cowboy is more, I remember that being more like regular length, but that was also not in itself like a super long game from what I remember. So I would imagine this thing is probably a contained experience. Yeah.
It's $20. It's on the PC. I was playing on through Steam.
Honestly, even if I only had 10 more levels to play, I'd be totally satisfied with that price because this thing is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
I have 10 to 12 hours is what I'm seeing here.
That sounds about right.
That's manageable. I need some of those. Give me some of those.
We got to get you, Brad, to play Quadrilateral. I think you will really like it.
I should really check that out.
It was a game that I had a little bit of difficulty wrapping my head around because I don't love doing like DOS commands and shit in computing, and they kind of want you to do a lot of that in that game.
That's all I want to do.
Yeah, so it's a game that really feels built for you.
I am downloading it as we speak.
Fantastic. You should also play 30 Flights because that game's also really good.
The most recent news update on Quadrilateral Cowboy from 2020, 64-bit update. Mac and Linux builds are now 64-bit.
Great.
Fantastic.
Finally.
All right.
2020?
All right. Yeah.
You remember playing that, don't you, Vinny?
Yeah. It's like a lot of like security system stuff.
Yes. You're hacking.
Yeah. All right. That's Skin Deep, $20 available on the PC. I think it's on the Epic Game Store as well, if that's where you got your bread buttered. I'm thinking, let's see, let me check the clock here. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll pick up with the rest of the games we got going on. We're going to talk about Marathon. We're going to talk about Clair Obscur. We're going to talk about Creepy Redneck Dinosaur, Oblivion, and there's a game I want to talk about, which I'm really annoyed nobody has mentioned is very good, and I feel very disappointed by the community. Wow. And we'll get to that.
Wow.
Yes.
Called
I'm holding
out.
them accountable. Yes. And you guys. So
wow.
We'll get to all of that.
Shit,
after
I'm
the
fired.
break. I know. Just check under your seat.
Oh.
We'll get to that after the break. Stick around. And we are back. Not only is it game season, It's alpha season, which
Seems
means
that way.
Marathon. Bungie's Marathon is here in alpha form for a limited time. By the time you are hearing this, there's probably only a couple of days left. I think it ends on the weekend as of the time of this posting.
Yeah, Sunday, I think.
This feels alpha to me. This game is not out until September. This doesn't feel like a stress test for their finished product. This feels like a maybe a tech test. I don't know.
Like even the UI, just the basic front end feels like it's probably got another UI pass to go before final. I had to guess. Hey, that thing is an extraction shooter, like top to bottom.
It is.
It's one of those.
It is for sure a PvPvE extraction shooter.
Not to be reductive, but like it feels. I haven't played a ton of those. We played a fair amount of Marauders.
Yes.
I have not played Escape from Tarkov. I've been afraid to approach it for a very long time. But let's see what else.
We played a lot of War or DMZ.
Played a fair amount of Call of Duty DMZ.
Yeah.
Have you guys played Dark and Darker? Did you play that when I was gone at some point, or am I thinking? Okay,
no, we had that on our list to play together. We never jumped in though.
I'm just kind of running through the mental inventory of like what are the big extraction shooters. But
yeah,
the point is like based on all of my experience with the genre of extraction shooter.
Yeah,
like that alpha at least fits that to a T, and kind of nothing else. Like there's like it feels very much like really great feeling Bungie gunplay, really interesting art, and kind of just a stock standard extraction shooter from what I've seen. It's like 3 people go. It's class based. I guess I should say. I don't remember if like some of these games are not that exactly. This is more
DMZ is not.
This is more hero shooter. Like there are 4 archetypes that you pick with names, and you can pick 2 of the same on your team, right? I assume
we never did, but
I assume you can have more than one.
I don't
of the
think
same.
It locked me out.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like your stealth character, your kind of heavy guy with like a barrier and missiles. Your what would you call
hacker?
I guess hacker is like the lady who can like ping the environment and send a little drone out and stuff. Anyway. But like it's full on 3 people on a team go in with 5 other teams, kill mobs, loot stuff. If you die, you lose all your stuff that you brought in with you, before every match. You're deciding if you want to bring your good stuff in or not, because you're going to lose it if you do and die, or you can get in, get some stuff, and extract as soon as possible to get some stuff, but not a ton.
It feels okay. Here's Vinny's chart of video games. Ready?
Give it to me.
It's like DMZ mixed with Apex Legends with a much deeper RPG layer on the outside of the game, right? Because there's a lot. Because you're working for, what do they call them in the game? Are they corporations or factions?
They call them factions, but yeah, they're like space corporations that you're taking contracts for. Which
are your dailies? Yeah,
the contracts feel very auto-generated.
Which I think are your dailies, but basically you can then use you get points to put in upgrade systems based on these factions. So the stuff you're bringing out,
actually not points, it's materials.
Materials,
you have to, which is maybe where before that 2 hours was even over, I started going like, man, without an extra hook here, I don't know that I want to grind this forever, because there's a lot of materials.
Yeah, and
you can mark them. Thankfully, you can like mark the ones if you decide which upgrades you want. You can mark the materials you need
because you have limited inventory space in the game.
Right, you've got very limited inventory. Like you can get backpacks to increase that, but even your backpack you lose when you die in a mission. Another player can take it. But grinding those materials feels like it could get old very quick, or just start getting super repetitive.
And I didn't see enough of the faction tree. Granted, I only played the 2-ish hours that we streamed it. I didn't play any more after that. But I didn't go down the faction trees or see enough of it to know if there are upgrades that give you some kind of keep an item or, ability upgrades. Most of what I saw were open up a shop. I think I bought that grenade one, right? Yeah. That's like, hey, we'll sell you this grenade between missions, stuff.
It was a fair amount of unlocking the ability to buy a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, unlock this ability or unlock this node on the skill tree, and then grenades will start showing up in the shop.
Because you do bring back money as well. So and then the money you can use to be like, I'd like to buy a grenade before I go in, or I assume at some point you'll buy a weapon, or you'll get access to higher tier things. Like DMZ, it seemed like you can, if you are, you always go in with a knife or some kind of melee weapon. So you can jump in there with nothing and try and get your weapon. I will say, again, my point of reference being DMZ, it's probably the one I played the most. the loot isn't just littered around. It seemed much more harder to find a gun at first than something like DMZ, where like you just jump through a window, open a chest, and you're like, I got a gun.
Yeah.
This usually you had to get one off an enemy or in a crate.
Fortnite or DMZ always felt like it was kind of doing the Fortnite style of itemization of just like you're tripping over guns as soon as you get in there, and this, yeah, like you said, you have to kill somebody or you might get lucky and find like a pistol in a box or something. But
yeah, there's it seemed like an okay res system. If your teammates go down, you can pick them back up. But yeah, it's aside from the aesthetic, which is severe, and I don't mean that in a necessarily a bad way. It is, but it is an all the way choice. They are going very. I don't know, what is that aesthetic?
It's like this really clean,
de-res but clean,
kind of like future space plastic look is kind of how I like to think of it,
But also like a very de-res blocky interface with like almost
there's a lot of glitch looking
pixelated
stuff, pixelated things and digital filters and stuff.
So like core mechanic wise, I don't know. Do you feel like they were doing anything that was breaking the molds?
No, that's
core?
Very much it. It just feels like an extraction shooter as I know the genre.
Yeah,
basically, but with like a kind of Bungie coat of paint and mechanical polish on it.
Which is not underselling it because their action is good.
No, like if anything, it's like really flattering of the gunplay that I kind of still want to play more of it and shoot those guns some more, even though like. It didn't feel like there was all that much to do outside of the very basic extraction loop. There may be more, maybe there's way more in the final game that they did not put in this alpha. I don't know. But like it felt like, I don't know, it felt like it was missing a layer of like objective based stuff to do in each mission. Like when we played DMZ, I always felt like there was always stuff to do. There was like, oh, let's go over there and complete that thing or go get that vehicle
and then get out, right? Like you've done it, now leave. Right?
And this felt like it was just kind of like aimless, like just get in there and go get some stuff and then extract when you want, I guess, unless you have a faction thing where you need to go. And a lot of the faction things were like loot containers in this location or do damage in this location.
It was pretty early on in our faction grind.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, and hopefully there will be more depth there, but like,
and we didn't know the mission types that would happen. Like we kind of had to figure it out. They weren't really tutorialized. Their tutorial was extremely short.
Yes,
in that alpha. It's like, pull the left trigger. Good. Now shoot your gun. Now leave.
Yeah. I mean, I will allow for the possibility that this is like a legitimate alpha and like not a marketing alpha where like it really is a very stripped down version of the game. But like, if that's the case, then they are a victim of 10 to 15 years of ruining the term alpha by the marketing department. Like typically you think of things like this as basically a demo where they are certainly collecting analytics and like looking for some design
or stress testing a server.
Like they are definitely doing the thing on the back end, but like the thing you're playing is like pretty close to final, but this very much might not be close to final.
Because they had they had a big press round, right? Where and the game's out in September, which is not that far away.
No,
if
you're actually not that far off. So
yeah, we'll see. This will be a living game. They'll be adding a lot of stuff to. Okay, I don't want to be too snarky, but this is the world we live in. It'll be a living game for as long as it's up and running, right? Like we just live in that world now where we've seen games that come and go under 6 months, like sometimes in extreme cases shorter than that. So I hope the best for Bungie on this one. It's coming in a rough market in the battle royale / extraction shooter.
That's putting it maybe a little mildly.
Yeah. They are published by Sony, who Sony has published Helldivers 2, which seems to be very, at this point, trucking along, not at jeopardy of something happening. And they also infamously have I can't pull the name out of my head. Concord, which is probably the most infamous case of a game coming up and coming down. So
I mean, this is Bungie.
It's Bungie.
There's both pedigree here and also how many billions did Sony pay for them on the line? You know what I mean? Like there's a big investment here. Like it's hard to see them just like cutting bait on this thing in a few weeks or whatever. So I would imagine even if it doesn't do well at launch, they'll pivot or keep trying to figure out what to do with it for a while. But yes, you're right. It's
a little tough out there.
It seems like a tough row to hoe for this genre.
And we'll get into that in the news section too.
Yeah.
But
I'll just say at this point, if Bungie can't do it, then what hope does anyone else have?
Yeah.
So the thing I expect from a Bungie game, any game, is like kind of great combat, right? Like aiming down the sights and engaging in that combat. I expect that to be really good. Also, a fair bit of world building to draw me in, and this seems to have it at the faction level, but that's maybe about it at that point. Like,
Yeah.
And again, we're in the alpha. I did 2 hours of it. It could be different, but maybe there's a big cutscene or something that sets up the world of Marathon more than, so I don't have to go and play the previous games or read a novel. Destiny and Destiny 2, mostly 2. The combat and stuff was great, but I kind of liked their weird world building stuff as out of pocket as maybe it got at times, like and out of hand and snowballed into ridiculous things and what's going on here. I kind of liked it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
within reason.
Was it? I don't know, Brad. Did it feel like it was collapsing under its own weight at some point?
I think a lot of people liked it. Was my sense was that people thought the storytelling got pretty good. It just kind of lost me when it started taking itself very seriously.
Yeah. Which it seemed like it did.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with Marathon again. September. Do you know if they have plans for another alpha or roll? I'm sure beta plans will come out.
Yeah,
later,
I wouldn't be surprised if they do another test, but I hope there's more in the final game. Like I like the structure of what's there, and it feels really good to play. But yeah, like I don't know, it feels like there's a like central hook missing from the mid mission kind of flow.
Yeah, I also like the ease, the environment. The robots were easy enough to go up against, but hard enough that you don't want to underestimate them.
Yeah.
They could get on top of you, but and if you're they weren't a joke to just take down, I guess.
Yeah, the NPC encounters were pretty engaging.
It's the P's you really got to worry about, though.
Yep.
Ugh, always the P.
Mind your P's and E's.
That's Marathon. That is in alpha, and again, release date scheduled currently for September 23rd across pretty much everything. No Switch 2 SKU.
No, I would not.
Here, so
I would not expect that, but who knows?
Okay, next game I've got here is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This one came pretty highly recommended by a lot of folks in the community and out there. Seem to be having a good time with it. And I had known this because Brad, you did that preview event with it a while ago.
I played it at GDC, which, like, in retrospect, maybe dampened my interest in playing it a little bit. But curious to hear what you think at the beginning of it.
I think it's great. Okay. I'm loving it. It's the thing I want to go continue playing right now. So it's turn-based. It's turn-based RPG, but it's also kind of a Souls-like. It's got
in what way?
So you have the mechanic itself is basically you have checkpoints where you have your party can use a quote unquote Estus flask. It's not an Estus flask. At any time while you're running around, you can get more of them. You start with one. And it can heal your entire party. And then when you hit the checkpoint, whatever it's a flag, it's an expedition flag, but a bonfire, you can rest at it. It'll repopulate the world, but you get your healing item back, right? If that's not Souls-like, then I don't know what is at that point, right? Because you're respawning all the enemies, but you're also getting your healing items back. I think the story so far is really interesting. I think the world and the setup have me hooked, and I think the acting in it is very good.
Okay,
I have actually really enjoyed. It's not doesn't feel to me like JRPG. I was almost gonna say nonsense. That's not the word I'm looking for. Over the top. Look, as someone who made it through the Final Fantasy VII remake stuff and Rebirth stuff. Sometimes that stuff can feel piled on too much. Mm-hmm. This has a tone to it that's pretty harsh. Like it's a pretty rough one. Do you guys know the setup for this game?
Yeah. Well, basically, I mean, from what was in the trailers and stuff, like
so there's this
lady paints a number and everybody of that age dies.
Yeah, and they've been,
spontaneously.
and I guess it started at the number 100 and been ticking down, and there have been expeditions to go basically end it, right? And you're part of this expedition 33, and most of the people on your expedition are going to die the next year.
Are they all 33?
Not all of them, but
So
the majority are.
What happens if you like some number of people would like filter through this mechanism, right? Like,
So they don't go out of their way to explicitly explain all these details. It's told very much in the context of the game.
like if you're 32 on the 33 year, is there? I'm trying to think like the dates lining up. Is there some way for you to turn 33 after everybody dies, but before 32 becomes active? You see what I'm saying?
I'm getting the sense that,
or is this just going to like literally eradicate this entire population?
yes, that is
Okay.
That is what they are building
yes,
toward.
It is.
Okay.
It is. These people. This is why these expeditions are getting more and more desperate. They only have so much time left. The world feels like these people live in it for this like kind of ridiculous premise. This world feels like these people have been through it. Like this. They have worked out the details of this world in a way where they are not explicitly having exposition drops for all of these things. They're kind of talking about it naturally, which I really appreciate. And stuff really kicks off when you go off on this expedition. I have found the portrayals and the reactions to the portrayals really believable. And, the portrayals of what the horrors that are on this island. It's got the island has a bit of the, I think you brought this movie up not too long ago, Brad, and I forget the name again, but the movie with the horrible bear zombie, the bear that can mimic people's voices.
Annihilation.
Yeah. It's got like a horror.
That's the detail you seize on is just the horrible bear.
I mean,
there's so many things about that movie, Vinny. There's many horrors to behold.
But really think about it for a second.
Bear's top 3, 100%.
So like, there are some horrors on this island so far, but I couldn't put it down. I really like it. I think the combat is so far engaging and interesting. It's extremely active. I've
had multiple people tell me the combat is actually the most sticky thing about it, which is to say that is the thing that they are like the most, I don't like using this language because all video games do it, but it's the thing they're most like addicted to.
Weird, because I don't know. I came out of that preview event going like, like this is fine, but also like this is extremely Mario and Luigi. Like I know I've definitely seen this before.
So I thought that going into it, but I found it so much more kinetic and skill based than that. There's a lot of comboing you get into and setting up your characters to make use of their abilities. And actually, one of the things that I was intimidated by was, oh man, how am I going to wrap my head around each person's individual combat mechanic, because they're all different. Like, just for example, one of the characters has stances where like you do a move, they drop into this other stance. If you're in a certain stance, when you pop another move, you might get bonus damage that'll drop you into a different stance, and you want to kind of keep dancing through all of these different stances, but it might combo with another character's ability by putting someone on fire or something like that. And the only problem I'm having is the spellcaster has abilities that get buffed with basically these colored icons for essentially, they're called stains, but like they're heat energy or fire energy, ice energy, earth energy, and I think it's neutral. And some of them are green and red, and the colorblind stuff is not easy to read for me. I wish it were something a little. There is a colorblind mode, but it's one of those ones where the whole game gets a filter on it. So, but I've been able to deal with it. I just find it really fun. The part that is not as fun is you rest, repopulates the world. Some of the battles you're like, I just want to get through this battle. Like there's hunting around. You will find items pocketed and secreted away in places. There's a lot of layers of mechanics in this game. There's basically spells that you can equip. If you have the spell equipped for 4 combat turns, you then don't need the gem socketed, let's say, in the Final Fantasy terms, to use the spell. You've learned it, but you only have a certain amount of points you can. So each one has a cost, 5, 6, 7. But you can. So you're constantly finding a spell, equipping it, going through combat, and then deciding if you want to burn your equipment slots on it or you want to burn some points on it. upgrade on weapons, all that stuff, right? But really, I think it's the character work. I just want to keep moving through this. It's fascinating to me, the world they have in it. And it's a $50 game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. And I'm moving along this game at a clip, which feels like I don't know how long of an RPG this is going to be.
I've heard it was like 30 to 40 hours.
Okay,
max.
perfect.
I've gotten the sense it's not insanely long.
Yeah, so like I'm leveling very quickly. I don't know what the level is going to be by the time I'm done, but it's like shockingly fast in the leveling, like a battle.
Bless
and then
them.
you're like, I got to level again, another battle, level again. Points are just, I'm getting spells so quickly and so fast. It doesn't feel like all killer, no filler. Let's go. I don't know if that's going to be true, but I am really, really enjoying it so far. Performance wise, I think in the game, it's fine. I'm playing on the PS5. In the game, it's fine. In some of the cutscenes, PS5 Pro, in some of the cutscenes, there seems, at least in the start of this game, and there are a lot of cutscenes in the start of it, a little hitchy in parts.
Okay.
Like would run smooth, then would hitch a little bit, and then would like run smoothly. I don't know if that's the same on the PC or Xbox or other platforms, but on the PS5 Pro, just in those scenes, everything else seems to be fine. I don't know if there's any other problems or even better on other consoles. But yeah, big thumbs up for me. That's, again, this goes back to my anxiety about so many games. I thought I was just going to try this out, mostly to talk about it here and be like, all right, I tried it out, but I really, really am enjoying it.
Cool.
Not what I expected, and didn't know if it would have the staying power. I thought it was going to be corny as hell. But
how French is it?
I mean, profoundly from what I've seen.
It's like
one of the first videos I saw was like a big dumb mime chasing you down a set of stairs, and then that guy starts doing the invisible wall. Is like
I fought a mime. I was going to say I fought, and the mime was very hard.
All right,
to beat.
They usually are.
I'm using the English voice acting in it, which I find very good. They swear in French. So
Merde.
That's a choice.
Yeah. I mean, there's an Eiffel Tower.
Okay.
They are in whatever pocket universe
The
France.
entire soundtrack is concertina.
That's fair.
It's cool though, and
All right.
I'm really enjoying it more than I thought I was going to.
I'll take it under advisement.
Yeah. I thought I was not going to be up for a turn-based RPG with a bunch of other stuff on my plate, but I was wrong. Happily surprised. That's Clair Obscur Expedition 33, $50 for the base game at least, PC, PS5, and Xbox. Out now. Keeping it moving. What do we got up next? Let's hit Oblivion Remastered.
Yes, it happened.
They
dropped it.
Oblivion Remastered. This came out 2 weeks ago?
No, it was last week.
Last week?
Yes, it might feel like 2 weeks ago because of the way it it appeared out of nowhere, but also it didn't because like the rumors and leaks were exactly spot on for months leading up to this. So everybody kind of knew exactly what was going on by the time this happened. If they had managed to keep this completely under wraps, I think it would have been a way bigger deal. Well, it's still a pretty big deal looking at things, but I mean, before we get into it, we should mention real quick, following on from our discussion a couple weeks ago, Microsoft continues to be a high-level target of the BDS movement. And
yes.
This is very much a game. I mean, it's a Bethesda game, but Bethesda is very much under the Xbox banner at this point. So,
yes, which is under the Microsoft banner, which is under the boycott banner by BDS.
So bear that in mind and don't buy this game if you want to adhere to the terms of that boycott request.
On a personal level, I have basically decided I will not be putting any money into the Microsoft marketplace in any way, shape, or form going forward while this is ongoing. We will continue to call attention to this thing as we go forward.
What's up with Oblivion?
Have you played Oblivion?
I mean, I did a long time ago.
This thing is a fascinating exercise because, like they talked about, I mean, it was in the rumors that we discussed, and then they talked about it in the reveal stream they did for this. It's the original game running inside of Unreal Engine 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks really good. Like, from a modern kind of just graphical fidelity standpoint, it looks really good, although it looks like really, this might sound harsher than I mean it to, it looks really like generic good. Like it's just kind of going for a generic fantasy realism sort of look that is like the, when you're in the caves, like the rocks look extremely wet and detailed, you know, like the landscapes look very dense with foliage, and like the lighting is very nice, you know?
Sure.
Like, if you showed me just
the right word for it, though? Is it? I guess the question I have is, like, are the things we are talking about that maybe made the original version of that game look somewhat unique more a part of the technology on which it was originally based versus the engine in which they are now using?
I mean, I think those are two separate things. Like, I think Oblivion had a characteristic look to it that was down to color palette and some of the limitations they were working under. But what I'm getting at is more like, this is gonna sound really bad, but it kind of reminds me of like you can spin up like Unreal Engine 5 games from pre-made assets very quickly that look very good these days, right? Like YouTube is full of this shit, you know, people posting videos of just like so and so if it was running on Unreal Engine 5, you know what I mean? Like there's like asset stores are a thing, and like I'm not trying to say this game looks like I'm trying to choose my language carefully and doing a very bad job of it here, but like if I saw screenshots of this in a vacuum, would I be able to tell you this was Oblivion? If I just saw some screenshots of like some grassy hills with trees on them and the sun and some mountains in the background, like, is that distinguishable? Is it distinctive from any number of other
I hear what you're saying.
fantasy
I see what you're getting
games with photo like
style
like
versus tech?
Yeah, kind of like the NPCs are very identifiably still Oblivion, for example.
And I'm so like I have not looked at this. My interest in Oblivion is maybe not as high as some people might think it is. Like Oblivion is not a game that I stuck to. I found it kind of boring in a lot of ways.
I never really took to most of those Bethesda RPGs, and I think Oblivion was kind of the moment where I realized these are not really, this kind of game is not really for me.
I mean,
I know some people love it.
Yeah, I played a ton of Oblivion. I mean, it took the office by storm. Like I remember, like I remember, like, were you there, Alex? I remember going with Jeff and Ryan like the day after it came out. Like it was after that weird art party we went to, I think.
Yes,
in the North Bay
was it
one time.
Oh like God, that was at that. Oh man, that's a weird connection to make. Sure, okay.
I don't know why I remember that, but I think we all went to that omelet place up there that they like, and then went to the store and bought Oblivion together. Like, but like the whole office was playing it. You know, it was like,
yeah, I was playing it too.
I mean, like that game was Bethesda's big breakout on consoles. But like people come at that from two different directions because Vinny, you're like you're one of those like Morrowind was better guys,
right.
whereas.
Why walk when you can ride?
Right,
yeah,
like a lot of people thought Oblivion was like too dumbed down.
It felt very close the Oblivion gate,
yeah.
and it was like once you were in them, felt cookie cutter.
But they were still doing a lot of that weird clockwork AI stuff that I have now since come to understand they have really backed off of. Right, like the more games they have made, the less dynamic they are, and like. Well, the best quick example I can give you when I've been playing this remaster is. The first time an enemy that I had aggroed on the overworld didn't stop chasing me, but in fact entered a dungeon I had gone into when I forgot they were even still there, was a real eye-opening moment of like, oh, right, their games used to be a lot weirder than what they do now. Like a lot. Like even Oblivion, which again, like I never played Morrowind because my PC literally couldn't run it at the time. Like I went to a friend's house and saw it briefly when it came out. And then by the time I had a better PC, like the world had moved on. So I don't know how much more like that Morrowind is, but like even in this, like I went into this cave and I was just like walking along through the cave entrance, and all of a sudden I started taking damage, and I was like, "Are there traps in here? What the fuck's going on?" And I turned around and was like I said, it was a goblin I had seen a couple minutes earlier in the overworld that had followed me into this cave. And like that, games don't really do that anymore, you know?
No, yeah.
Like you go out and read people talking about this now, and they're talking about like, you know, major enemies, like boss type enemies that are like Umbra is one of them, I think. I can't remember the name of it. Was like a well-known high level enemy in this game that drops good stuff, but like people talking about that NPC chasing them like halfway across the overworld and then coming into a major city with them and then having all the guards aggro onto them and it turning into a huge brouhaha, you know what I mean? Like that kind of weird dynamic AI interaction stuff, like just is something that Bethesda has sanded off of its games for the most part. And well, not a lot of other games are doing these days either. So,
what was the thing? Was it Skyrim? The Radiant?
Yeah, yes, that was they.
Or was that
Oblivion? It might have happened in Fallout 3. I don't think Oblivion had Radiant quests,
the quest stuff.
But it might have. I think maybe splitting hairs here. I think they called it Radiant AI in Oblivion, which is kind of the thing we're talking about, but the Radiant quests didn't come along until Fallout 3.
I don't remember. I just
at some point they replaced this, like, you know, we've talked about this in the last few weeks as these rumors have been swirling, like the whole, you know, NPCs have lives, independent routines of what you're doing, and they eat and have affairs with each other and chase you across the world. Like, they replaced all of that with the auto-generated, like the procedural Radiant quests that would happen where somebody would just run up to you on a road and trigger like a scripted thing. And playing this is a reminder that, like, you know, the old style, the thing Oblivion does is way jankier, but like it both takes you out of the kind of like immersion or, you know, believability of the world, and also provides for way more memorable moments than just doing the same canned Radiant quests over and over.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. Something from this on, I just never struck. The Bethesda RPG stuff just didn't catch with me again. And it was weird because I was hoping the Starfield would, right? Like a new setting, like a new take on it. And even that didn't. And I don't have even a problem with making your own stories in games, right? Like, oh, this stuff is super fun. There's something about them just didn't have a tooth with me. It just didn't grab. And look, there's plenty of document. We've been doing this a long time. We have plenty of documented discussions about, can you make these games without them being broken? There's a lot of Game of the Year arguments about that. Skyrim versus Saints Row. Plenty of arguments about that. My feelings, I think, are pretty well known and documented on those. And I was thinking back on Oblivion when I saw a lot of people getting really excited for the remaster. Is this the one that turned me on? Is this the one that steered me the other way, forked me in a different direction? I don't know. I can't say for sure. But people do seem pretty excited about this remaster. I got too much other stuff I'm playing.
Yeah. I get it. It's weird though. Like I said, this is a strange exercise because, like, again, the fidelity is very high.
Yeah.
But everybody animates and behaves exactly like they did in the original game. So like seeing them pivot on a dime, like on an axis, and then go walking off in a direction in a very like rigid way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
seeing the characters move around in this world in this 2006 style of mechanical sort of behavior, but with the graphics being as good as they are, is this really bizarre juxtaposition.
So I guess the question I have is, would people have been mad if they didn't do that? If like all that stuff had been changed,
they tinkered with those things.
If they tinkered even with those like kind of like, you know, lower rung details that sort of like are certainly distinctive for that particular game, but maybe aren't necessarily like the thing people like immediately zero in as like the most important things. But there are people who just like treat any aspect of that game like it's sacrosanct, right? Like you can't fuck with it in one way or another. So like, are there people going to be mad because the characters like animate too well?
Yeah, I mean, if they had put a lot of work into adding like animation blending that made them seem much more like natural modern video game characters, I don't think anybody would have complained. But if they did it in a way that undermined the weird, janky, systemic or procedural aspects of this game, then people would have been pissed, because like all I saw about this game for the first few days on social media was people going like, it's still the same fucked up, broken, janky game. Look how awesome this is. And I bet a lot of that is coming from people who were too young to play it when it came out.
Yeah.
My read is that I think a lot of people who are playing this remaster and getting excited about all the jank are people who know this game through the legacy of its memes.
Yeah.
Without getting to be there for when all that stuff was first spawned almost 20 years ago now, God help us. So like, you know what I mean? Like people, if anything, people are excited that it's still the same weird janky thing underneath. And like the numbers on this thing have been insane.
Yeah, I believe it.
Like the concurrent players and whatever, you know, stats on Steam downloads and stuff, like this thing exploded to the point that like I immediately was like, oh, they're going to do this for all of their games, aren't they? And like, sure enough, I went and looked, and we probably talked about this a year ago or whatever, but it was in the same leaks that revealed this, that they're also doing Fallout 3 version of this. Because Fallout 3 was the next game after this, so it was very much in that same era. I wouldn't be shocked if they do this with Skyrim at this point, though. Like, I would not be shocked if they take this same tech and just say, like, hey, we resold Skyrim 5 times already, but what if we get another decade out of it by redoing all the visuals but keeping the underlying logic so it's still the same game underneath? Like, they've got that, they now have that pipeline worked out, where I bet at least Fallout 3, if not also Skyrim, are also going to get this treatment.
Look, I think I finished Skyrim. I remember playing that one. At least I think I did.
Probably.
I think I probably did. Later, though. I think I wound up finishing it later.
I finished Fallout 3 and Skyrim. I never even came close to finishing Oblivion, despite playing a lot of it. I don't think I ever even closed an Oblivion gate. I might have closed the first one, maybe. But I mostly just tooled around in that world, screwing around, like going through dungeons and messing with NPCs. And
just go watch Greg Savin's marathon.
Yeah,
easily watchable.
Sadly, the full thing is lost to time, but.
I remember I think this is from his thing. I think he was in an Oblivion gate and he killed an enemy and they was on the stairs and he was just poking the enemy in the butt with a sword to push the enemy down the stairs and was like fascinated by, the interaction and the physics.
I mean, I distinctly remember one of his big things when the 360 came out. Maybe was it Perfect Dark Zero that he was reviewing or something? I remember him coming into the office and being like, this is how you can tell it's next gen because the corpses don't disappear when the enemies die.
I mean, kids don't know how great they got it.
This it's pretty well made. I'm playing it on the PS5 Pro and it's a little jank. Like the performance is pretty stuttery in spots in a way that's pretty disappointing. I heard it's not much better on the other consoles.
Interesting.
Hopefully that gets better after launch. Also the UI, like they've done a good job modernizing the UI, but it still feels like the old UI. So there's still some real cumbersome stuff around managing encumbrance and like comparing weapons and stuff. Like,
well, it's reworked. It's not a remake, right?
They didn't fully redo the UI. They did do some stuff. They did kind of make parts of the UI, kind of the menu pages fit together better and stuff, but you're still just sorting giant lists of stuff by weight. And there's not a great way to compare like weapons, for example, that I can think of off the top of my head. Like it's still pretty clumsy dealing with, a full pack worth of stuff.
Yeah. Oblivion.
Yep.
People love it.
This thing has exploded. Like you can be sure we will be getting more of this kind of thing.
Yeah. I just don't have the love for it.
I get it. I'm with you.
If they
not
did
for the same
Morrowind,
reason that you are, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's a weird game. It's a very strange game.
Look, I didn't even replay the Mass Effect stuff they re-put out, and that's maybe one of my favorite franchises of all time. When EA released those were just remasters as well, right? Just kind of like
pretty much. I mean, they did a lot of work on the first one in particular because that game was showing its age very badly in a way that 2 and 3 don't.
Yeah. So like, look, I don't go back and play a lot of remaster stuff, but this one
I kind of liked it. Like I've got Mass Effect Legendary installed on both consoles, just sitting there.
Never been a better time.
Like no time to ever go back to it, but if I ever just like spontaneously dropped out of this line of work, I might just be like, you know what, for the next 6 months, I'm just going to play Mass Effect.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful.
And that's all.
It's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
Sometimes it's fun to go back to stuff, but then other time, I don't know how much of Oblivion I'm going to play. Like the Final Fantasy VII remake stuff has been very hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, I've got a thing I've gone back to.
Okay.
And this is the one I was talking about. How did this sail under the radar here with nobody basically just hooting and hollering and saying, you should try this. This game's pretty good. You might like it. Hollow Knight.
Oh, I played some of that.
Never heard of it.
2025's hottest game.
Indie game. Yes, Brad, I think
was that late last year that I played that?
No, I thought it was this year, earlier this year.
I can't remember.
I thought it was earlier this year.
Yeah. Hollow Knight, very popular and beloved. My son is playing Hollow Knight. And I was sitting there watching my son play because his friend was talking about Hollow Knight, and which got him playing Hollow Knight.
Wait, are the youth into Hollow Knight at this point?
I think some of the youth might be into Hollow Knight.
That game is old enough. Well,
Silk Song's coming out. Don't forget. So,
right, but I mean, like, I'm trying to think about
says you.
2017 is not quite as old as I thought. I mean, that's still 8 years old. Like, like a kid who is in high school now was like barely old enough to know about video games when that game came out.
Well, here's what I think it is, though, is that it's a game that's been, it's on a lot of platforms. It's available most places, especially if you have a Switch. And I feel like it's not that game hit big right when it came out, though it did well from what I understand. But the thing of when Silk Song coming out has basically become a meme unto itself.
Yeah.
So I feel like enough people have just caught wind of that meme at some point and been like, maybe I should go try out that Hollow Knight game. I feel like that word of mouth has carried it much further than
I think
than
you're
even
right,
just
Alex.
their initial popularity.
Like you're not wrong, and even just general streamer culture has just given games, even notwithstanding some weird thing like the Silk Song brouhaha or whatever. Like just generally games have like way more staying power than they used to because they get streamed a lot years after they come out and stuff, and memes float around forever and so on.
Yeah, and those games go on deep discount. Digital marketplaces make them extremely easy to access. So it's just like the barrier to entry for finding stuff like that is almost nil.
Yeah, and we hit a technical point where like the graphics don't look dated just because it's an 8-year-old game now. Because even 8 years ago, a 2D game like this could look incredible. Not in a way like pixel art from the 90s looks very much of the 90s.
This game still looks great.
Yeah.
So I'm playing on the PC. I think when I put it down, when I loaded my save up, I was probably about 4 hours into that game. That's where I had left it. I've now put another 10-ish hours into that game. The problem I was having was sitting there watching my son play. I was like, oh man, he's old enough now where he doesn't hand me the controller for the hard parts, but I just wanted to play it. Like you watch somebody fight a boss and you're like, oh man, I want to run at this boss. I want to take a run at this boss. And so it turned out that he and I were basically at the same spot when I was watching him play. And so now we're playing side by side, basically. Like I'm playing and then he gets to catch up on the weekend. And it's kind of a lot of fun because he is actually pretty good at playing games now, right? He's 13, he smokes me and some stuff. And so it's interesting to play alongside somebody who is more like a peer to be like, oh man, like you having trouble with this part? I beat that part yesterday.
I can get in there.
You gonna do this thing?
I have 5 more days a week to play it than you do.
That's right. But so this is the trade-off. But he basically controls that thing on the weekends, right? So where I might get an hour over the course of 5 days, he's got like 7 hours over the course of the weekend, maybe even more if we're not doing anything. So we'll see where it winds up being. It is hard to squeeze in though when I'm like, but I want to be playing these other things as well. And I'm just having a good time with Hollow Knight. Oldie but a goodie. And I that's one of those ones that I if I remember correctly, I didn't put down because I was like we just talked about, like Oblivion. I didn't put down because I was like, I'm kind of bored here. Something else came in, right? And I was like, someday I'll come back to Hollow Knight. And also, I'd like to get it done before Silk Song comes out at what supposedly would be the end of this year, right? So we'll see. Hollow Knight, though, turns out everybody's right. That game's still very good. Having a good time with it and jumping around and pogoing on people.
I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah. I am playing on Moonlight, and there are definitely a couple of times where I'm like, is the lag getting me? Is the lag getting me? Should I have made that really tight timing window there? Or is the millisecond of delay here screwing me over?
Could be.
I
know you're not going to start over at this point, but I will advocate again for people who have not played this game before. The Xbox version is great because
I had it on PC, and that's what
that's fine. But it's got the between the auto HDR and the frame rate doubling to 120 FPS, like it looks and feels fantastic on a modern TV on the Xbox, which like I tried the PS4 version and it does not have those things. Like there's a real difference in like clarity and like that art just pops so well with the auto HDR on the Xbox. Like that is like the version to play to me.
I wonder if they'll do any kind of re-release around Silk Song for this that is made for more modern consoles. PC version again looks fine, like you guys mentioned. The art style is just fine on it, but what you're talking about on the Xbox stuff is the not hand tuned.
Yeah, that's all automated stuff. That's one of those cases where those automations they've added to make games look and play better, like really made a big difference for me. Right.
I also continue playing Bionic Bay because I really like that game so far, and I'll probably talk more about that when we wrap up. Actually, we're probably in the I don't know, anything else in the big list of game stuff that you guys are jumping around in.
I deleted Blueprints.
I'm sorry, what? You beat it. You beat Blueprints.
I deleted Blueprints.
Oh.
Yeah, you could say that I beat it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
After a fashion.
Did you hit like just a run or something? What happened?
What happened was I did like 3 more runs since last week looking for the magnifying glass, and like I will absolutely grant the magnifying glass and whatever it enables is not my only valid line of inquiry into that game at the moment. But you said enough last week that it got me thinking about it, and I was just because if I didn't make it clear last week, I've only found it like twice in the time I played the game. Like
really interesting. Okay, even in the commissary,
maybe 3. Well, there were a couple times it popped up in there, and I didn't buy it because I didn't have the money, or I wanted to try something else because in a lot of cases, the items in the commissary might be the first time you've encountered those.
Yeah. Again, if you didn't listen to last week, I just want to say in context, it happened to be specific to some of the stuff you were going through. At the time.
So like my MO playing the game previously had always just been I need to see as much new stuff as I can.
Which I still agree with.
Because I need to know. So like, if I came across like the salt shaker was in the commissary and I had never seen that before, I would always spend the money on something like that.
Sure.
So I've never actually bought the magnifying glass and I've only found it. The point is like the surface area I have had for looking at documents has been pretty small. And even in that, I wasn't using it that aggressively. I don't know. I did like 3 more runs wanting to draw on our conversation from last week going like, okay, there's like some ideas I've got for maybe things I should actually be looking at with that thing. Like A, did not come across the magnifying glass in another hour plus of playing the game. B, just had one of those runs that like I bottomed out on the 3rd or 4th tier.
And there was nothing else popping up that inspired you.
And I didn't see anything else in those runs. Or
okay.
I just had some fit of pique and I was just fucking literally mashed the PlayStation button back to the dashboard and just deleted the game.
Interesting.
Like maybe I'll come back to it someday, but not right now. Too many, like you said, there are a lot of other games to play at the moment. And I'll say this is like maybe a tiny spoiler or it could be absolutely nothing, but I'll never know because I couldn't find the fucking magnifying glass. I did notice I started eyeballing the documents I came across. Every time I saw a piece of paper, I noticed, again, maybe spoiler, probably not, the exact same little squiggle pattern or what looks like the same little squiggle pattern is on the bottom right corner of every page that I came across. And that could be, maybe they just use the same generic little sort of like stain pattern for every piece of paper in that game as a way to get more out of their art. Or maybe that's something I should, like it looked like, maybe that's actually information if I had the magnifying glass, maybe.
I'm just no comment either way on that.
Like purely what it was you saying there's a thing you can find with a magnifying glass that will make you either go aha or fuck this game. And so like I said, I still stand by that. Yes, from what you were talking about last week. Yeah. I started eyeballing just the literal texture of the paper itself, the paper stock in that game. After you said that, okay, maybe that's not actually it. But again, I just got annoyed that I could not confirm or deny my suspicion to the point that I was just like, maybe when I'm in another frame of mind or have more time to burn on this, but like there are so many other games out.
Yeah.
Not doing this right now.
I'm not going to wag my finger at you. I think the audience for this game is a really interesting, I found this game to be very polarizing in a very, I love it, you don't get it kind of way. Not necessarily in a, not in an internet, you don't get it, you're not playing right all the time, but it definitely steering more towards, but if only, right? Sense. And some people are like, it's just not doing it for me. Not a lot of middle. I find myself kind of in the middle on this one.
I kind of was in the middle because it was doing enough for me that I kept trying.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I just got kind of fed up with it.
Yeah. I think if you're not on some kind of more open Zen, like I'm just absorbing all the mysteries every single time, it can feel very punishing for not giving you the thing you want, right? You kind of have to be, but then you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know when there's a room and 90% of it is another puzzle and you're like, I don't know, this room is just here, but I'm looking for something else. So
yeah,
I think that makes it hard. People who've made it over that hump, it's very easy sometimes to be like, oh, there's puzzles all around you. But sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
That's very interesting to me.
And I don't know, maybe I am still to this day too fixated on trying to gauge what the expectations of the audience are, because for however many people are going to get angry that I deleted this game or whatever, there's like somebody else out there going like, wow, I'm surprised they haven't gone back to Avowed yet. Like I thought they were going to finish that, or like what happened to Assassin's Creed, like there's a lot of games sitting here half played that at a certain point you make a calculation that like, maybe I should spend time with Skin Deep because that game knows exactly what it is.
Yeah. Totally. I mean,
Or
same reason
whatever.
I'm still fucking playing creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3. You know,
Hell yeah.
it feels very achievable. It is doing the things I want it to do. I feel like I'm almost done with it, and that's great. You know, it doesn't bother me that I have now put Assassin's Creed into the I am booting this up once a week, playing for a few hours, and then moving on to other things box, because all those games eventually get shoved to that box eventually. So now it's just there, and I will finish that game in October, and that's fine.
Yeah. How is that Dinosaur Redneck Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3?
Pretty funny, like enjoyable.
Okay.
Like it has not really changed in a meaningful way.
Okay.
I
Still
think
a
that
match
game,
3.
Yeah, I think that game is probably a little under 8 hours long, if I had to guess. The narrative is just still very goofy and fun. I'm enjoying that aspect of it, and the match 3 stuff is enjoyable enough. It's exactly the slice of that game that you want, and it does not feel like it is extraneous.
Anything else on the list? Like I said earlier at the top of the show, there's stuff that is still out there that I haven't even gotten to. Like,
Yeah. There's plenty out there.
Like that new Wadjet Eye game that I really want to jump into. There's just a lot out there right now.
Yeah. The Battle Aces beta ended, so at least that stopped sucking up a lot of my time.
There's also what is that? Oh, gosh, I always forget the name of the RPG multiplayer RPG thing.
Sunderfolk.
Sunderfolk. There's that. Look, there's a lot of stuff out there. I would love to just dip into.
Yeah, I still want to. I kind of still want to check out Indiana Jones now that's out on PS5.
Indie.
That apparently is doing very well on PS5.
Does not surprise me.
Like, sounds like that's the biggest platform so far for sales.
That's so funny.
I
want to play more Tempest Rising. I want to play more Tempest Rising.
Still got that installed.
All right. Should we take a break? Come back with the news?
Yeah,
sure.
Good problem to have. Too many good games out.
Always. Detective Dotson. That other, do you remember that from the Panorama? It was
vaguely.
That's out now. I'm sorry. Now I'm scrolling a list of stuff I want to play. Yeah, tons of stuff out there. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to talk about the news. Stick around. And we are back. And we've talked about the Switch 2 for a very long time. Everything has led to this moment. Vinny's on the stage. Caravella's time to shine. We've talked about rumors over the last 500 years. We've talked about pricing. We've talked about availability. It all comes down to this, Caravella. It's game day. Let's go. The big show is on. Where are you? Pre-orders are going up. Caravella's at the computer there. He's got Walmart. He's got Target. He's got GameStop. He's ready to go. Best Buy is open. Where's it going to be? Womp womp.
Turns out nowhere.
Alex, we've talked about this before in other places, Q&A, but you wound up getting in there. You got your pre-order.
Thanks, Best Buy, for being the least broken at the time.
If you want to know how the Switch pre-order stuff went from our sample size, we have a 33% success rate in being able to pre-order Switch 2.
And that did not come without complication, because I did get kicked out of that Best Buy queue a couple of times with nothing to show for it. I just happened to luck into one not breaking on me.
I also got the fraud alert from the Amex, which came up.
From me or for you? Or
I don't know, because I also got a Target one that went through and then got canceled.
Right.
So it could have been that one, but that canceled. I got the cancellation like immediately, so I didn't know if it was just that everything was on fire. If you were around in the United States,
it was not working well.
If you were in the US doing pre-orders for the Switch 2 on pre-order eve or pre-order time, I guess, in the States, it was fast, furious, often like these things go if you're out there. This one just had a rabid pace to it, right? Like something's everything. The system is not holding together.
Yeah, not fast enough for my taste. I mean, I said this on the Q&A because we were coming fresh off the GameStop kerfuffle when we did the live Q&A last week for patrons, but if it had been a 5 or 10 minute, hey, you tried and struck out, fine. I mean, that's a bummer, but
2 hour.
That's fun. But yeah, it was like I spent 2.5 hours.
Yeah. I was with
they
you.
Went up trying to do it. Like it's more the amount of time.
And then the next day.
And then another hour the next day with GameStop and nothing.
So yeah, I think look, Am I sour grapes because I didn't get one? For sure. Yes. Would I feel a little differently if I had, it would be like, it was rough, but it wasn't that bad. If I had gotten in through any of those systems, maybe. But it was stinky poo-poo. And
it was bad.
I think I said this on the Q&A or somewhere else where we talked about this, but I think the one that if it had worked, I would have been okay with were the Walmart and Best Buy. You're basically in a line. MMO queue.
Yeah, that's not so bad. I mean, that seems like a reasonable way to manage the load on their back end, except that, like you just said, it didn't work at all. Because,
I got through the Best Buy one only by opening another tab, and it was like, it just pushed me through because I was in there waiting. And other people who got in later, we were online, we were talking to our Discord and stuff, we're getting in. And I was like, what is going on? Let me open Best Buy on a new tab. Punched me through, and then it said, it gave you a little ticker. You have 10 minutes to add this to cart. I couldn't add it to my cart. It just broke.
And then, again, said it before, but, people were just like showing up and getting them in 5 minutes.
Or 2.
At the time.
Zero consistency.
Like
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
So it was a bummer. It's frustrating.
I mean, look, you say it felt especially bad. I mean, look, this has never worked in the history of man. An online pre-order for a console has never gone well in human history, but I do feel like this one had a slightly more heightened and desperate feel to it.
Oh, sure.
For reasons which will become apparent as we can go along, but I do feel like everyone was like, this is my window. I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Because normally you miss it out and you're like, okay, look, we still got weeks to go here.
Yeah.
Pre-orders pop up sporadically. Sometimes they miscount stock. They realize they have more stock they can release out, or people cancel pre-orders. That's a rough life to live. That Wario 64 life, and bless his heart for going out there. But like, you got to be ready. You got to be ready.
He probably does well with that stuff.
Yeah, but
I mean, he's made it his life. That's why.
I don't think that's entirely out of altruism.
No, but like, it's a service.
But yes, you're right. It is like a nightmare to keep up with that stuff for sure.
Yeah. So like, if you're chasing that stuff down, like I've done it for a couple of things. It's a rough way to live. You're like getting on there, and then you realize like, I just missed it. They sold out again.
It was concert tickets are the thing that broke this for me years ago. Like I went through enough situations of trying to get tickets to a show and not being able to, that I kind of swore the whole thing off as a personal policy at a point. And it seems like it hasn't gotten any better.
So I don't do like, I've heard like that sneaker scene is a rough one. If you're a shoe head, is that sneakerhead?
Sneakerhead.
Shoe head is something else.
So probably offended somebody. Won't be the first, won't be the last. That lifestyle seems rough too. They're like, because they have like, again, this is probably in other things as well, but this is where I heard about it. Don't they have location-based drops as well, where you have to be in a spot to activate to get a certain thing? I get it on the toy end. The G.I. Joe Classified series and some of the Transformer stuff, they would do like Walmart exclusive things that you just can only get at like a Walmart or Target or an Amazon or something. And then you have to just be at the right place at the right time with that account or you're like, this happens in the United States. We're a very big country. You go follow up on this stuff and you're like, well, I walked into my Walmart in the middle of Missouri and they had them. And you're like, well, I live in a major metropolitan area. Anything around here has been scooped up and is on eBay for 5 times the price. Like we do not live in a stumble onto things society as much anymore, where you're just like, oh, I could just go on this backwoods website who just happened to be sitting on 500 switches because they don't know what a switch 2 is. Anyway, I'm trying not to be sour grapes, but I was very frustrated at the time because I was up very late. And the biggest sin for me at this age is wasting my time. And I just feel like I wasted my time. I didn't come away with anything. Except the shared experience with all the fine people in our community. But it did seem like a lot of people in there also got them. So
it sure does.
A little rough. And thanks to everybody who offered to, if you got 2 of them, to be like, hey, we could send you one if my pre-orders, people are still waiting to see if stuff gets canceled. Right. So I still have faith that a pre-order will appear somewhere at some point, or I'll just hit the release window and we'll get in there and post release.
It sounds like Walmart. It sounds like has been having them pop up briefly here and there as like scalpers or bots get canceled or people cancel their pre-orders and stuff goes back in the pool.
So on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I exercise in the morning. I go on my exercise bike, and the first thing I do when I get on there is I have my rundown. I go through my Walmart, my Target, my Best Buy, because now I downloaded the apps. I never had them before. That's the other thing I hate is like
You hate what they turned you into now?
They hate what they turned me into because
an app person.
But because now I have the apps for these 3 services because the website stuff seems to crumble under the weight more sometimes than the app. Maybe it's intentional to get you that app.
Maybe I don't. Yeah, I considered that. I assumed that they're all hitting the same back end. I would assume, so I figured there would not be a functional difference. But maybe you're right. Actually, I don't know.
So that's the Switch 2 drama in the States here.
Yeah.
If you're outside of the United States, it sounds like it wasn't nearly as bad.
Yeah, I mean they still sold out in seconds, of course. But like I feel like an idiot because like at the time the hubbub around the pre-orders, like and it is still mostly this. I attributed just to. It's been 8 years. People are just desperate for a Switch. Like that thing is pretty long in the tooth and they want a better one and it's coming finally. Completely glossed over the part where everybody was extra panicking because they're all like, holy shit, if I don't get one of these right now, it's probably going to be a year before I can get one and it's going to cost $800 by then.
So that's kind of, before we get into that, should we talk about some of the other news that's come out since the Switch 2 or stuff or the...
I threw one other story in here briefly just to touch on that it's come out that since retailers have started posting listings for physical games, it's really looking like a large majority potentially of Switch 2 releases are going to be the game key cards, the kind of empty licensed cartridges that just trigger a download.
And key to the cart is the big thing, right?
Yeah. So like whoever has that cart in their Switch can download and play the game at the time. It functionally, it's just like a physical game, except for the part where you have to download the game to actually play it.
Right. So important just explicitly, this is for me as well, for anyone listening, explicitly say that it is not married to your profile. You should be able to pop that out.
You can, and crucially, you can resell it or give it to somebody.
Sure. Yeah. I guess that was a question I was going to have is like, it's still taking up the same storage space on the console as it would, because it's not downloading to the cart. It's downloading onto your Switch like a normal downloadable game.
But I would assume I would surely assume that's the case.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. But they're just offloading that process and that cost to you.
Don't love that. Don't love the idea of just printing up a bunch of plastic that doesn't do anything other than tell the console to download something.
Yeah, I mean,
it's probably better than a code. Because you might have that resale value, or you can share it.
It's just I don't love anything about this system. But the thing is, like, I don't love anything about the way things have generally been going on that front anyway.
I mean, like people have made the argument like, oh, it's a digital game you can sell, but it's not a digital game if you still need a physical cart in to play the game. It doesn't matter how you acquired the data or where it's stored.
In some ways, it could be, you could look at it as a good compromise. In some ways, you could look at it as the worst of both worlds, because also from a collection or archiving perspective, you still need to have an internet connection to get that game. So
it's terrible for preservation.
Yeah,
although I feel like at this point, like we are just having to accept that the nature of preservation going forward is hacking the actual game footprint, the install off the system these days, and storing and archiving that rather than, because even most physical games are not the final game at this point.
Yeah, and there are loads of games that just never get a physical release now.
The only potential upside I can see of this, and it's a big if, but it seems like there might be some actual material cost to this type of storage they're using, this kind of micro SD express that they're putting these games on. So like maybe we are in a world where the bigger the game cart, the more it would cost to make and sell.
Oh, sure.
Like, I don't know if we could straight up be back to cartridge days of like, hey, the bigger the ROM in the cartridge, the more the game's going to cost. So like,
sure.
But that, again, that's a big if. Like, that's like, if that is the case, then this at least would help allay that problem. But this could absolutely just be a cost saving measure on the part of everybody involved.
And again, this is coming out of what's going on in Japan right now, right?
Sorry, I should say not a cost saving, but a profit maximization measure.
There you go. Right. A distinction with meaning.
Because certainly these are cheaper than carts that have to store data.
Yeah. I assume the whole back end process, right? You make out in the wash. Yeah. So, Switch 2, it is now the wait and see what happens. We'll probably get more retailer information with this stuff too as we get closer to launch here in the West. But the thing we also have now alluded to twice and hangs heavy over all retail things going on are the tariffs. And if you've been living under a rock or, I don't know, amongst the penguins, then you would probably know about the tariffs.
Even the penguins have been tariffed.
Yeah. So like, I probably don't need a lot of explanation here. The thing that I'll just say is it seems like at this point, seems like you guys as well, and probably a lot of other people out there are starting to see the retailers, the companies, the people who have to sell the goods start to adjust for this in a lot of ways unknown future.
Yeah. You linked this right before this. The 8-Bit Dough is now suspending shipments from China to the U.S., which is this is definitely the most recognizable company I've seen do this so far. This Polygon story you pulled mentions that, and I'd seen this a week or two ago, that Bionic, who makes a lot of I assume you guys know there are like 8 bajillion retro handhelds coming out a week now.
So, yes, and each of them has another 8 bajillion individual drop shipping scams that is selling them on Instagram. Yes.
And Bionic is one of the big makers of those. Like some of them look like Nintendo 3DSs, some of them look like Game Boys, some of them look like their own thing or PSP or whatever. But, portable compute got good enough that you can play like everything through like maybe PS3, 360. I'm not sure. Like these retro handhelds play a lot of old games very well now. Anyway, Bionic is one that had suspended shipments a week or two ago. But I feel like 8-Bit Dough is closer to the sort of core gaming audience because they sell so many controllers. In
Great
particular,
controllers. I've got
well-regarded ones.
Yeah. And keyboards, like they make a lot, like a lot of people, for example, like would rather use an 8-Bit Dough controller to play their Switch than the Nintendo Pro controller, for example. Like they are pretty close to like where the like retro handhelds are still a little bit of a niche market, but
sure.
8-Bit Dough is like maybe the most notable third-party controller maker to me at this point.
They're definitely the one
up there.
I look at, especially for controllers that are like, hey, I wanted something that looks like a SNES controller,
right?
But they do have modern controllers that work with a variety of consoles. But I like their controllers,
right? But in essence, it basically sounds like going forward, any 8-Bit Dough products you buy in the US are already here in warehouses waiting to be bought. And after that, it's probably just it until this situation resolves.
Yeah, that's right. So like even they don't know what the long-term effects of this are. They're saying it's temporary, obviously, until they can get a handle on it. They don't want to do this. The other thing that is, saw some comments on this and I'm glad people correct those comments. There's a big world out there. They will sell to the rest of the world because some people are like, well, were they gonna go bankrupt? What's gonna go on? And be like, a lot.
Dog,
dude, we don't live in that world anymore.
Think outside the bubble, man.
Yeah. So like I think 8-Bit Dough is actually very popular in Europe. But like there is a big market out there.
The gaming market is the biggest it's ever been.
And in a non-US market, you can maybe find other ways to. It's not great.
No.
Nobody wants this.
No, of course not. But at the same time, the days when it was literally you sell to Japan, you sell to the US, or you sell to Europe blanket is over. Like, we are a long way away from that. Games and game-related bric-a-brac can be sold just about everywhere. And 300 million Americans is, look, we're a wealthy nation and everything. Maybe less than we were some months ago, but like... we're not the only thing.
So some of the things that I was interested, actually, that maybe people who work in logistics could fill me on personally that I couldn't see reported. Maybe I wasn't in the right places. For Canada, for North America, and for Mexico and stuff in South America, I don't know how much stuff comes in directly. Used to come in through the ports in the United States and ship.
That's a good question.
Like what would come in through California and ship south, maybe what would come in through the East Coast of America and ship north through trucking logistics, versus what gets shipped directly there. Cargo ships, I assume, is where a lot of this stuff is still happening versus
yes,
airplanes. So.
And let me tell you right now, the ships, they are not here.
And
they are not coming here.
So yeah, I don't know. So the reason this is also interesting is I've gotten a lot of emails. I collect Transformers, some of those G.I. Joe toys.
We all collect dumb shit.
A lot of silly toys. And I have gotten my emails now from them being like, "Hey man, we can't eat this cost.
Yeah.
So
things are going to change.
I think Big Bag Toy Store put out a memo that's like, look, you can still pre-order, and then once we know what the tariff is going to be, we will allow you to cancel that pre-order or cancel the cost. The thing I wasn't sure on, somebody can clarify for me, was, do you get your pre-order price back, or do you just not pay the 140% on top of that cost? Because it would be great to be able to get the whole thing back. But I understand if they're like, well, then we're sitting on this product here, that nobody's now paying for. It's a fuck situation.
We have no fucking idea how any of this is going to go. We don't know how long it's going to be. All we know is that everything's going to be broken for a while.
The other one that went up recently, I don't know if you guys saw that Gamers Nexus video about the.
It's been getting linked like all over the place,
okay.
like even way beyond like the spaces I normally inhabit. Gamers Nexus stuff gets linked like daily, but like I'm seeing that video pop up literally everywhere right now.
Which is an interesting video because it feels like they could. And they almost say it as much. It's a 3-hour long video. I did not watch the entire thing. It's well bookmarked. I skipped around. Gamers Nexus stuff sometimes I find entertaining. Sometimes I find a little sensationalist. We were talking about this before the show, you and I, Brad. Generally, I think they're doing good work out there, and holding people's feet to the fire.
Yeah, for my part, I'll say I've never seen them highlight wrongdoing that did not deserve highlighting.
Sure,
like everything they've gone after that I've seen them go after has been like, yeah, that's some egregious shit. Like somebody needs to be calling that out.
Holding truth to power to truth, whatever So anyway, this goes through getting a bunch of PC parts manufactured, PC case or pre-made computers together. It feels like they sometimes are getting almost the heads of the families to come together to be like, all right, we've got a common cause here. All right. Like, let's all get together and talk about this thing. And what I thought was really interesting, I didn't recognize a lot of the companies. Some of these are a little too deep for me in the PC lane. They go through their product line in a way that I thought was actually really fascinating, to be like, here are what the costs are to make this product and bring it into the United States.
Yeah, was it Height? I'd never heard of them before, but HYTE, yes, they make like specialty PC cases, but like apparently they just straight up like opened the books for them and showed them exactly like line by line or something.
Yeah, it was cool. And so it really highlighted. We know how big a problem this is, but it highlighted some stuff like if you do your shipping in an assembly in the United States here, you are fucked from a market. It's not like you then ship it back out to the rest of the world. If you manufacture in China and then can hit the other territories directly from China, you're in a much more stable situation if you just are leaving out the United States from that business model, right?
Yeah.
But if your primary thing is we order parts, put the PCs together, and then sell them to other people, that's a rough situation to be in right now, because especially, again, you have to pay that cost to get these PC parts, and that manufacturing. I mean, we don't need to go into logistics, but it should be obvious to everybody. It's just not here.
Yeah,
it's not happening here necessarily at scale, right? Or tooling is not getting up.
We're just going to build some beautiful factories. We're just going to move it all here. All our manufacturing is going to be done in here. It's going to be fucking great. You don't need 30 toys for your kids. Maybe just like 2. Two's good.
That's true. That's just true.
Yeah.
That's true. I need the 30 toys though.
Like a rocking horse and a basketball. That's
that's all you've ever needed.
A hoop and a stick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do have a couple of pre-orders sitting out there for toy stuff, which I don't know what's gonna have. I'm hoping that they just sit in a shipping container somewhere for now until this gets figured out, and maybe we get away with a 20%, maybe we get away with a 40%. I don't know. Hopefully not. And as by the time you're hearing this again in the States here, things are just changing hourly. So it's really hard to tell what car variants are
a developing
happening.
situation, one might say.
And it occurs to me, I mean, we talked about it last week when Nintendo came out and said, hey, pre-orders are resuming and we're not changing the price for now, but we haven't heard from Sony and Microsoft. Like, they're going to be in the same boat, you know, if they've got some amount of stock over here of PS5s or whatever, but what's going to happen when that runs out?
So
they're subject to the same stuff.
I don't know if you guys have seen this sentiment that some of those price increases in other countries were to help subsidize the.
I have come across that idea that they are actually kind of punishing other markets to try to make up for the shortfall, but
which also sucks.
Yep,
Yeah.
sucks for everybody.
Everybody's
Everybody's going to burn together.
Sorry guys. Sorry world. The other place that is probably worth mentioning because it's probably a decent crossover is the board game community.
Oh man,
is also in a rough one, and I've got a couple of pledges from various what is the general term for a Kickstarter like? Crowdfunding places that are sweating it, man. They are super sweating it.
You want to talk about a business where the margins were already not great.
So I think if people are familiar with Stonemaier Games, they have a lawsuit. I believe they have a couple of the other people attached to it. I don't know what's going to happen there. But it is,
nobody knows what's going to happen.
People are getting desperate at this point.
Yeah.
And so it's wild. And then like, will the Switch be $600? It's like kind of absurd, but also a question mark. And I think going back to what you guys mentioned before, a genuine concern. Like
I don't know how you can be working in this space right now and not just feel like everything is being upended.
I also don't know how you get out there, and if anybody still believes this, I don't know how they're continuing to say it from this administration that the retailers and manufacturers will eat this cost. Like it is just not true.
No.
Like that messaging, I mean, I know there's a lot of spewing of nonsense coming up, but that messaging is just not true. Like they can't absorb that cost. It's
even if they could, they won't.
I mean, some of the biggest companies on the planet could, but they won't.
They definitely won't.
The only ones who can will refuse to do so.
Well, like some of these companies, I think, are trying to absorb whatever cost they can because they don't want to raise prices either, right? Some of this, let's just say,
it's bad for everyone.
In the most beneficial sense, there are definitely companies I support that are like, look, we're trying, but we can't eat 140%.
Right, that's the thing. Like a 25% tariff maybe could be absorbed by some chunk of the market, but 145, like, come on.
Yeah, and like. Will that stay there? Probably not. But where does it end?
I mean, if you buy into the prognostications about the lack of container ship traffic and the downstream effects on dock workers and truckers and job losses there and empty shelves coming, and like if the doomsday scenarios play out that are being described out there, shit's going to go sideways. Like it's hard to see how any of this is going to stay in place for long if things are as bad as some people are predicting.
I mean, it's not just that it's going to go sideways, it's that it's going to stay sideways for far longer than the lead up to this was. Because if those, if you just look at the logistics side of it, if all those truckers are suddenly out of work and have to go work elsewhere, if all those dock workers are suddenly out of work and have to go work elsewhere, you then either have to go find those people again and hope they need the work, or you have to train up a whole new, basically, cadre, new workforce of people to do that stuff. After the faucets have been turned back on. Like that is a much longer process than just firing or, putting a bunch of people out of work.
Yeah. Like I'm way out of my depth here and a lot of the stuff I've read is anecdotal, but shipping routes are already getting rerouted to markets that they can serve, like you don't just flip a switch overnight and have those original routes be reinstated. That takes time.
Or even point of sale places where you're like, I built this, I have this trust, that this relationship, I know these people get me my stuff I order from my toys, whatever. If they can't weather it, that sucks. Like there's a lot of smaller shops that aren't the Amazons of the world, that it's like I like going to them, I like getting my GI Joes from this smaller shop because it's It's not my local shop, but it is one I like, and they, it might be a little more expensive, it might be whatever, but I know that the margins are going to help support this thing. And like, if they can't survive that, that's going to suck. And when it comes back to the video game and computer stuff, like, man, it was already expensive to get a video card. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, I guess don't get a video card.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, but it's or like maybe there's enough stock in the United States to circulate around for a while. I have no idea.
I don't know. But I mean, again, when we come back to all of this and we kind of encapsulate the whole thing, let's all just remember, this is all for nothing. Absolutely nothing.
So yeah, best of luck to all the retailers out there and the people who are trying to weather it, that are not fucking Amazon and just caving to any pressure to call out what these things are, which is a tax on the consumer.
On the consumer.
Just so annoying.
Yeah.
Annoying is like the most mild word to apply to it, but it's hard to listen to sometimes. All right. Switching gears into another crap story.
Yeah, this is not a good week for news. I got to be clear.
No, I mean, like, you got to switch to pre-ordered. That's the highlight of my week. Okay,
and I should be excited about that, right? And it's like, oh man, it's almost like there's some other things that maybe take precedence mentally that are kind of muting that enthusiasm.
Brad, what is our final story here?
More layoffs at EA.
Big ones,
significant ones.
Around 400, it sounds like, total. About 100 of which are at Respawn, from the sound of things. A lot of this came from Bloomberg, although IGN has also reported on this. There has been some official announcements that Respawn does say that they have made some targeted team adjustments across Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi. Like, that's the name of the team now.
Yeah.
That is hardly the most important thing here, but like the fact that it's just called like Star Wars Jedi is the name of a unit now. Like, those are the, you know what I mean?
You get the impression they will now be cranking those things out indefinitely.
It's just two like kind of meaningless brands shoved together to make a name. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's just stack brands on top of brands. And anyway,
well, the interesting part about that, I'll just pause you here because I know there's a lot more of this story, is and you can segue off of this, is I thought those two brands were doing just fine. Like, in terms of the general the vibe, like the Star
Apex,
Wars Jedi
I think, is
brand,
still doing reasonably well.
The narrative around Apex is that it's been pretty down for the last number of months or a year or more. That, like, I mean, the EA executives have more or less said, hey, we're working on the next actual Apex Legends product now, because the tail has fallen off pretty dramatically on the first one.
I mean, the game had a pretty long tail, all things considered.
It's been out for like 6 years. Like, it did well, for sure. Like, it probably did like the best of any game that's not like, Fortnite or like that tier of,
right,
for being a kind of like second tier live service game. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but not every game can be Fortnite.
No, I think second tier in that space still means reasonably successful.
Right. Like, it did extremely well for not being one of the 3 biggest games in the world. But it sounds like it is time for that to start moving on. The actual like nugget of news in here came from Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, which is that they, I think one of these got announced reported on in like March. There were a couple of like kind of early prototype projects at Respawn that have gotten shut down. We've now found out what one of those was that some of these layoffs are related to, and it was a Titanfall extraction game. So, speaking of marathon and extraction shooters, being kind of niche. And also, speaking of people wanting a new Titanfall game, and then the monkey's paw curling.
Yeah, that's really where I come off on this.
I don't think anybody who has, because there have been rumors for a while that Respawn was working on something new with Titanfall, and people got very excited, and like right off the bat, I was like, there's no way that is the thing that you want it to be. And sure enough, it was going to be a live service extraction game, which is no longer happening.
I think when you couple this news with the other piece of news that came out of EA, which was the Codemasters news.
Yeah, so what is this? You found this like right before we started.
So they put out an announcement that basically says Codemasters is no longer making stuff outside of what sounds like, basically, I assume the F1 will be their like primary going concern going forward. So that is to say that there will not be more dirt games for the foreseeable future. Anything related to Colin McRae Rally, any of that other stuff. They have not made a Colin McRae Rally game in a long time, but a lot of the games they made in the decades after were at least indebted to that game spiritually, if not just straight up technology. And so Codemasters is basically on F1 duty going forward, and that sucks. Not because I think F1 is like horrible or anything, but because one of the cool things about Codemasters was they made a diversity of different driving games, and a lot of them were pretty good to great. And that seems like between this Respawn news and this Codemasters news, what EA is effectively telling you is, if you're not already making millions and millions of dollars, you're not going to make that.
Yep. Which is nothing new, but this is really kind of rubber meeting the road on that policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this Video Game Chronicles story also referenced the the underperformance of Dragon Age for expectations, let's say, of Dragon Age and Football Club. Is that what FC is?
Yeah.
Football Club was not well received last year.
But Dragon Age is the big one. But I don't know all the stories about this because I feel like their expectations were very high and it actually sold decently. So I'm not sure what it
didn't do Inquisition numbers, which is what they were. I think they had expected it or hoped it would do.
Hitting a target that's very, very high doesn't mean you, or not hitting that target doesn't mean you still didn't do well, right? So is that where you think this is coming from, or you think this is just also just recalibrating in the space for what the extraction shooter market is? Well,
I think it's a combination of those things. I don't necessarily believe that a Titanfall extraction shooter would have been a gangbusters sale for EA by any stretch.
In fact, I will say it absolutely would not have been. I don't think I don't know what's up with extraction shooters are just kind of on the brain a lot right now because the Marathon Alpha happened and people have been playing them and talking about them to some extent. But it seems like that genre, everybody who had tried and failed to make a battle royale looked at extraction shooters as the next battle royale.
Or succeeded with a battle royale. Apex is fine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But there was a prospective land grab around extraction shooters, though, is what I mean. Everybody was like, "Oh, that might be the next thing.
Let's stake out our claim.
This might be the next PUBG. We got to get in on that." Escape from Tarkov is big, although it's actually for lunatics. Tarkov is a fucked up, brutal game. It's not.
It's intended to be.
Maybe it does not have the mass appeal that something like PUBG did, but it just seems like everybody thought oh, maybe extraction shooters are the next thing because I've already lost track of what the Tom Clancy one was. Was it
X-Defiant?
That wasn't X-Defiant, wasn't it?
No, or was it the other one?
I've completely forgotten the name of the Tom Clancy extraction shooter, but that came and went. DMZ is kind of not even a thing anymore. Marathon is getting kind of a tepid response. It really just feels like the market does not want extraction shooters the way that it did Battle Royale.
Yeah, I love an extraction shooter.
It's a cool idea. It's
when
very,
they're good.
It's a very cool high stakes thing, but it seems it's really easy to do it in a way that just leaves people feeling kind of punished by the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, and at the same time, the bigger thing I think is this what anyone who likes Titanfall actually would have wanted?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. They're so close to an extraction shooter. The difference between an extraction shooter and battle royale are very specific. I think you do have to extract. You have to get loot to get out of the game, right?
The key difference to me is the risk reward, because you go into a battle royale with nothing and leave with nothing. You're earning crates to get cosmetics out of, or XP on your account or whatever. But it's the I have banked a bunch of stuff and I might straight up lose it if I die in this extraction run. That's the key difference to me is I have got material goods that I have accumulated and those are straight up going to go away if things go bad for me.
Yeah. And I think like I said, I played a lot of DMZ. I kind of enjoyed that loop. It was kind of fun.
I like DMZ a lot.
I liked it better than Warzone, which is, basically the battle royale, because I think you can do objectives like we said earlier on. So I don't mind chasing that stuff. I think one of the bigger things we should probably come back to is all those reports that people are just playing the same damn game
Yeah.
You know, it's just hard to pull people off of the games they're playing. And introducing a new one that maybe doesn't shake up the world that much, it's really hard to peel those people off to jump in and buy into your ecosystem. It's a really big ask, I think, for a lot of these companies. And if the biggest players in the market can't pull it off, and we saw it was last week, right? We reported on Devolver basically saying like, "Hey, man, we're gonna stick to what's making money."
Yeah.
Like
and it's always great for a medium when every company comes to the same conclusion, which is that we have to stop taking risks. We have to just go for the most like surefire things we can, because that's definitely how a creative industry doesn't die.
But on a slightly this is really positive note, but I think it's just a kind of, you guys have been around, people listening to this have been around. I think the industry does reward novel ideas and then everybody chases after it.
Right. That's
and then
the problem.
And then you get the also rans. But I think we're just seeing more of that novel idea, pieces of it come out of smaller spaces.
Yes,
and
definitely.
And then bubble up and be like, oh, we'll pick, this is a good idea from here. This is a good idea from here. We'll bubble it up. And then finally somebody makes their Frankenstein super game that takes the world by storm and shoulders everybody else out, right?
Well, I mean, I think you heard also, even just in those smaller spaces, like I feel like around the time like DICE and GDC was happening, the thing I kept hearing people say was everybody was looking for the next Balatro. Like everybody was talking, like trying to hunt for what the next Balatro was. And it's just like, you're not going to find it that way.
Yeah.
It's just going to manifest one day and everyone's going to recognize it.
Like I can't believe that this even needs to be explained to anybody working in any business whatsoever. You can't will the next big thing into being.
No.
Like there is no alchemy that lets you take lead and turn it into gold that is reproducible, you know? It's like,
well, but you fall down that line of thinking when you are extremely risk averse, when the situation in this industry has become extremely risk averse.
Right. Like you can't balance that risk reward problem if you're a big company that needs a return on everything. But like, why did Among Us become so big? Why did Lethal Company become so big? You know, why did Schedule 1 blow up the way that it did? Like, who the fuck knows? Like,
time, talent, and circumstance. That's all it is. It's just like the game was good. It hit at the right time. It found the right audience. Right
place, right time, right idea. Like, you can't force that. Like, it just happens.
I mostly agree with you because like the games I have enjoyed the most are those games, like, you know, like your Deep Rock Galactics and the games that feel like they came about somewhat
just wandering out of
organically.
nowhere. Yeah.
But could you make the case that Epic bought their way into Fortnite and spent their way into basically getting Optimus Prime and everything into that game?
Well,
I'm not saying that they're not talented, and I'm not saying they didn't make a great product, but they were able to spend to make that.
I mean,
all the brand tie-ins came later, though.
It didn't become McDonald's right out of the gate.
Like you remember they launched Save the World, and it kind of was whatever, and they basically kind of panic pivoted. Or I mean, I'm guessing at the fact that Fortnite did not do great out of the gate, and then they magically a battle royale appeared in that thing like 2 months after launch.
Not in a vacuum, right? They kind of saw the market, right?
100%.
And they were like,
they 100,000% looked at PUBG blowing up and were like, let's just do that. And they just did that. And for whatever reason, that thing caught.
Yeah.
It worked, and that let them build it into the thing that it is now.
Like Fortnite was basically the World of Warcraft to PUBG's EverQuest. Like that's really all it was. Is that PUBG was brutal and punishing and exacting because you have to worry about like bullet drop and real world gun mechanics. Also, it just looked kind of grungy.
It's a great comparison.
Yeah, that's very good.
Like it just looked grungy and kind of unapproachable to a mass market audience. But Fortnite is colorful. Like it literally, visually, it is exactly the WoW thing of like EverQuest looked kind of grimy and low poly and not great. WoW looked like Disneyland. Like Fortnite is the Disneyland version of PUBG, and it was more forgiving. There was more guns, you know, like the building stuff was whatever. But like that, I think that's the best reason I can come up with why.
Well, I think
that blew up like that.
But I think also Blizzard and Epic have enough money to spend at that thing to refine it. It's funny, the building stuff, because I feel like the building stuff is the last holdover from
like I wonder what the numbers even are on.
No build.
Are most people playing zero build these days? Like I don't even know how many people play
the last time
the original mode.
I thought I saw that zero build was generally the more popular way to play, but that was a while ago, so I have no idea.
So this stuff at EA sucks. It's a lot of people laid off, or a lot of people with job uncertainty now. And I think there is, and the reason I brought up the Dragon Age stuff and the quarterly earnings stuff is, you know, unclear whether this extraction shooter was on the chopping block or not. Either way, if you're reading the market, Marathon has a lot of fucking weight on its shoulders, I think.
Yeah, I fear that game has got an uphill climb.
Yeah, and so we look at the upcoming releases. I don't see as many extraction shooters as I used to. I mean, look, there are run-based things like Void Crew, which I still think are making interesting headway in that space. Was Division 2 an extraction shooter? The Dark Zone?
Kinda. I think I think that element of the game was extraction based, right? But that was not the whole game though. That was it was more of a it's a loot shooter, but I'm trying to think like which one to even compare it to exactly.
I mean, you kind of got in, it was PvP and you could lose your stuff, and like, you went in there, it was high risk, high reward.
But that was just the Dark Zone, right?
Just the Dark Zone.
So like they basically put an extraction mode in the middle of their open world, right? Because couldn't you just like walk into the Dark Zone?
I think you they gated you off initially, and I think you had to go in there later. But that's where the good loot was initially, I think. Yeah,
that was a cool idea. I mean, that game did stick around. It means people still play Division 2.
I'm still playing it now again, Division 2. It's still got
Nothing
a good
can
core.
Stop you.
It's a big behemoth. Best of luck to everyone who is affected by the EA stuff and will be continued to be affected by the EA stuff. I feel like we are probably a long way off from the what were the EA originals? What was the Mirror's Edge crop of
those did not
Legend.
have a name.
Shadow of the Damned.
Did they?
The EA?
Are you thinking of EA Partners?
The EA Let's Take a Chance on Games initiative.
I mean,
that was EA partner stuff.
That was a Riccatello era.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think those games, those like Mirror's Edge and Dead Space were not EA Partners games. Those were just EA, but that was the Riccatello era of we're going to make original games and try to do interesting stuff.
And it went so well that Suda51 literally made Riccatello into a villain in one of his games.
Look, Dead Space is a great game. Mirror's Edge, they did turn out some good stuff out of that.
Totally. Yes.
In fairness.
All right. I think that's going to do it for the news. We having any emails today?
Yeah, there's some stuff here.
Good. Great. Fantastic.
Podcast at nextlander.com.
Podcast at nextlander.com. Podcast at nextlander.com.
That's correct. Zach from Savage, Minnesota.
Okay.
Writes in about Command and Conquer. The Red Alert versus Tiberian games in particular.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a stretch to say I have played 2,000 to 3,000 hours of CNC games in my lifetime, maybe more. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and they were some of the only PC games I had. To give as succinct an explanation as possible as to the differences in tone between the two universes, I give you this.
Okay.
Actors in the Tiberian games.
Mm-hmm.
James Earl Jones, Michael Biehn, Michael Ironside, Natasha Henstridge, and Tricia Helfer.
Okay.
Actors in the Red Alert games. Tim Curry, Udo Kier, Peter Stormare, David Hasselhoff, George Takei, and Jenny McCarthy.
It's all that needs to be said.
Tiberian games cutscenes are blocked and edited like a movie and go more for the Wing Commander 3 prestigious B-movie feel.
Mm-hmm.
Red Alert is typically point of view and goes for the total camp 90s made for Cinemax B-movie feel.
I mean, okay, I agree generally in spirit with what you're saying, but some of those people that are in the prestige one could very easily be interchanged with some of the people from the camp one. Like
which ones?
I don't know.
Which James Earl Jones in a campy one?
Well, I mean, he's a guy who
say he's the most prestige of all of them.
You think? You don't think he can do a joke one?
I think because he transcends all of that shit, he can do prestige and camp in equal measure. Like he was good enough to do anything without like being of any of it. You know what I mean? Like he can go from stage to corny nonsense.
But like Natasha Henstridge wasn't the greatest actress by any stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my Ironside has got a certain goofy quality to him.
Yeah, and it's like at the same time, Tim Curry can do totally respectable shit. He's just great at camp.
Yeah, I mean, David Hasselhoff, Jenny McCarthy, though, like
they should not break containment. 100%.
Let's be real.
Least of all, Jenny McCarthy.
Arguably George Takei. I don't know.
No, I'd say George Takei is more camp than not these days.
Yes.
I mean, I think they're both kind of goofy.
Yeah.
But camp is a different type of goof.
Yeah, there's a specific, there's a real like heightened quality to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another email?
Yes, actually another one from Zach.
Okay.
He's got the twofer in one episode because these are highly relevant.
The coveted.
As a lifelong and devout Packers fan, apologies for Aaron Rodgers.
It's not your fault.
I snapped up 2 shares of Packers stock in 2011 for about $250 a piece, one for me and one for my parents.
We talked about this last week?
Yeah, we talked about the fact that the Packers are the one publicly owned NFL team.
I think they might be the only publicly owned like professional sports team in North America.
Sure. A couple of things to note. The sales of shares are very limited, and the team has only done 6 of them since 1923.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Usually when they need big cash improvements to the stadium because they can't tax levy the city of Green Bay for billions like most other NFL teams do in that situation.
Yes.
When I received my shares, they came with a sizable legal document that I had to sign, notarize, and return.
Hot damn. Okay.
The document outlined that the share did not entitle me to any decision-making power over the team itself or any dividends.
Of course.
It doesn't give me tickets at a priority, and it's not covered by any securities laws.
Okay.
I am also not allowed to sell it to anyone other than back to the team for about 1/400th of its value.
What?
I can will it to a family member, though.
It's very ceremonial.
Yeah, what it does entitle me to is I get to vote annually on the board of directors for the team at an annual meeting that I can attend in person. And I get to put my share number into a website and buy special shareholder branded merch.
Hell yeah.
That's about it.
Listen,
Still not a lot of people get to say they own part of an NFL team.
Absolutely right. Put it in a frame it, put it on a wall, especially if you're a Packers fan.
Yeah. They had the draft in Green Bay this year. I did not realize they were doing it there.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
I still think it's a cool thing.
It is ceremonial, but at the same time, I think it's a cool thing to be able to do, and also that there is not just a billionaire at the head of that team.
I found my wife has this old, I think her grandparents gave it to her, a share in Krispy Kreme, a stock. A paper, like
one
a paper
stock.
thing. Yeah. She emailed Krispy Kreme to be like, is this, where are they? And never got back to her. Does that stuff expire at some point? I assume
I don't think shares expire.
Do they?
I wouldn't think so.
You can't find the person who
unless
has it.
the company goes out of business.
I will. I started to tell you what Krispy Kreme is trading at today, which is $4.10 a share.
Yeah.
What I'm laughing at is their ticker symbol.
Yeah.
Which is D-nut.
Good. Wait, these nuts?
D-nut, like
D's
D, because the NASDAQ symbols are 4 characters. It's D-N-U-T.
Yeah. Which nut? D-nut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do I get my $4 or she
maybe.
I don't know.
Again, I don't think stock technically expires. I mean, there might be certain kinds that do, but a general share of a company does not expire unless the company ceases to exist.
They must have some kind of thing, like if you don't check in for like 40 years, like they just
still
assume
just falls under your ownership.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that paper gets lost or burned. Is it recorded anywhere?
I mean, you may not be able
to
get money out of it if you cannot show records that show that you own it, but
somebody will know out there.
Yeah.
I think there was also like a GE stock floating around, all the big winners, all the high ones, that are just, there was a thing that was like questions, and I was like, you should email them, see if Krispy Kreme gets back to you. Be like, we've been looking for you. Where have you been? You own the factory.
We must bring you to the factory now. The donut gnomes, they need a leader.
We've been lost. Where have you been?
I can tell you, it was like $12 a year ago.
Oh man, well look, so was everything. Right?
I don't think Krispy Kreme is nearly the hot ticket it used to be.
You guys like Krispy Kremes?
Yeah, they were fine.
Yes, but
I always thought they were a little overrated, but they were good.
I mean, it just weirded me the fuck out when they blew up nationwide and became this like trend. I mean, how long has that been? Like 15 years now, probably.
I'd say a little more.
Like,
no,
you remember that moment?
Almost 20. I think.
Like, you remember that moment though when it's like, like people in LA are trying to like.
The light's on. That means the donuts are coming out.
Like Krispy Kremes were the cheap donuts at the Ingles when I was like 5 years old. Like because I'm from the part of the country where they originate, and like they literally were I'm not joking. Like they were just the cheap mass produced donuts that were just at the end cap at the grocery store. like pre-made, just sitting there waiting to go.
They have
like
a counter
not,
at the end of the aisle.
like they were not a thing at all. So it blew my mind when they turned into this like big trendy thing.
They were good enough donuts, but
They're
I wouldn't
fine.
say that they were like exceptional, you know?
Yeah, I mean they're trying to think. Started to say they're like the Waffle House of donuts, but that might be a little bit that might be underrating them. I'm not sure.
I find them very rich, like very decadent. Like
So they are, yeah. I mean,
so like
I've never had an undecadent donut, and if I ever do, I'm going to say that we are falling on hard times as a society.
That is a good point.
well, like a Dunkin' Donuts donut doesn't have that gloopy glaze all over it like a Krispy Kreme does.
I mean, it does if you tell
if you're
them
doing
to.
it right.
Yeah.
I guess if you're doing it right.
Oh.
I
Wow,
guess
they started in Winston-Salem. That's actually closer to me than I realized. Anyway,
you're an owner. You own a Krispy
you
Kreme.
wish.
I mean that is Southern cuisine.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Decadent and not good for
Overdo it.
you.
Like you have the feeling when you're eating. If you don't grow up with it, you have the feeling when you're eating it of like I should probably only eat like this maybe once a month.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's my Krispy
And
Kreme.
not
I believe
every
we-
single day.
I believe we refer to that region as Lipitor country.
that's what I was going to say about Krispy Kreme. Like, usually I can tear through something and I have real trouble stopping. With the Krispy Kreme, if there's a box in front of me, something about my body is like, no, you're good, man.
If you eat more than 2 of those, you will die.
you should
Instantly.
stop. Yeah. I have very bad self control, but there are certain foods that, like a Krispy Kreme, it's just like, no, you're good. You're gonna have to answer for this.
Mm-hmm.
Another email?
Yeah, it's a good week of follow-ups on things we've been talking about. Although I don't remember talking about this. Maybe you guys can help me. The Antarctica Nintendo 64, did that come up recently?
That was on the Never Been a Better
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh,
Yes.
Well, guess
Yes.
what? Here's an email from Noah.
Okay.
I saw this one.
I caught wind you guys were wondering about the N64 Antarctica. You may or may not remember me as the guy who coordinated getting the N64 to Antarctica from the 109th Airlift Wing.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I'm out of the military now, but I sent some texts out inquiring about the state of the N64. I can confirm that it is still in Antarctica. It unfortunately no longer works,
Boo.
and they never got any other games for it besides Donkey Kong 64. What a blast from the past. That was a very fun gag that I pulled when I was in the military. Altogether, it took me 4 30 racks of beer, some extended duty, and an overnight shift to convince a series of people to take it to Antarctica for me.
A 30 rack?
I don't know if
4.
this is worth it.
30 racks. That's
Yeah.
that's quite an
That's
investment.
120 beers.
That's quite an investment, actually.
But it's a pretty
I
good bit, to
an
be
overnight-
I
fair.
appreciate it. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I
thank
respect
you
anyone
again.
who will go to great lengths for the sake of a bit.
It's a bummer that there is a non-functional N64 out there. I hope somebody can
Just throw it outside. Who's going to know?
I hope somebody
Who's
can
gonna
repair
notice?
it. The aliens that are buried under the snow. will
I
notice.
know how stringent the rules are there about bringing
Yes.
things in and taking
Uh-huh.
things out. So it is probably actually a series of papers someone has to sign to take that thing out of there.
Bring only yourself, take only footprints. Bring only N64s, take only photos of your N64. I hope somebody can repair it or get it fixed. I hope it played. I hope people played it. I'm gonna say, look, Noah, again, thank you very much for everything you've done there. N64 is a pretty hardy console. I feel like there's
Durable, yes.
not a lot of moving. Like what's going on there? We got to figure out what's happened to this N64.
It is
It's just a little dirt.
It is the best working of all the old consoles I have right now.
Yeah, like it's kind of tank like. Maybe it overheated. I don't know. Like what happened? And it's not N64 isn't one of those ones you hear about that like, oh, this failed on, or like, it's got a bum part on it. So
It could have just been, power surge somewhere in there. I mean, I know the power situation in Antarctica is
Oh,
a
that's
little
fair.
more, I'm not going to call it dodgy, but I don't know how consistent it is.
what
Yeah.
if okay, I'm not saying I need pictures, but what if by broken somebody is just a picture of that N64 with fucking Donkey Kong in it with an axe through it? This N64 no longer works.
It's the beginning of the fucking thing. You go to the Norwegian base and you find this like N64 dripping with fucking icicles and blood.
Except instead of finding an alien carcass in the ice, it's the fucking Donkey Kong that started.
It just is Donkey Kong.
Everyone drove everyone mad. Nobody wanted to fucking play that thing anymore. Just turn it off. Just fucking turn it off. Just okay. Look, it's broken. Doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's in pieces. Good luck.
Just fucking Wilford Brimley taking a fire axe to an N64. I love it.
It doesn't work anymore.
I'll kill you.
I'm feeling better now.
I'd like to play Donkey Kong now. No, I'm feeling much better. I want to get the bananas.
I'm ready. How's he doing in there? He's fucked. He's Caleb. Get the blow.
He's building an N64 out of garbage.
In the basement, a giant fucking N64 under the shack.
Choking Donald Moffat to death with a fucking N64 controller.
Feeling much better now. All right. Is that it for the emails?
We got one more.
All right.
Hit me.
It's I'm playing a dangerous game here because there are so many good emails this week. I could save some for next week.
Okay.
No,
one more.
Do it.
All right. This was kind of long, but this is from Ben.
Mm-hmm.
In a previous life, I worked as a PR manager for a film distributor in Melbourne, which included the local release of Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Oh.
Thought you might enjoy some anecdotes.
Yeah, please. Exit Through the Gift Shop, in case listeners don't know, is part of our Watchcast, part of our documentary block there. We
just went up on the Patreon this week.
There you go.
Definitely one of the more interesting things we have covered. It was, in all honesty, one of the weirdest things I have ever worked on. In a strange parallel with the film's narrative, the film almost promoted itself with some very specific incidents surrounding the release that couldn't have been better executed if we planned them. First came the media preview screening, a good old-fashioned book a cinema and invite the film reviewers thingy. It was reasonably well attended. They liked it. Job done. When I get back to my desk, I start getting emails from media, industry folks, street artists, and basically anyone vaguely attached to the art scene asking if we'd be putting on another one. We had to book another 2 or 3 screenings to meet demand, and all of them were full. This never happens.
Huh.
The reason I hear later that week is that several people from the first screening were excitedly spreading a rumor that Banksy was in town and was at the screening.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you that he was not.
Oh, well, how would you know?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Next came the saga of the poor city of Melbourne street cleaner who only a week or so before the film was to be released accidentally painted over a well-known Banksy during his rounds.
Oops.
The story broke here and overseas, helping catapult awareness for the film's impending release into the stratosphere. Some even accused us of staging it. Firstly, I am simply not that clever.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, we didn't have the budget for that kind of shit. Then came the cease and desist from someone who claimed to have a Banksy on the door of the power box outside their home. Or I should say had. Apparently it had been stolen, and it was our fault because we were stirring up too much hype for Banksy's art by releasing this film. He also his story also ran in a number of local newspapers alongside a byline that read something like, Exit Through the Gift Shop releases on cinemas, blah, blah, blah.
Huh.
Finally, there was the question of talent interviews. We had been promised by the film's producers that Banksy would do one interview for us, but only one, only with a high-profile newspaper and only via email. Every email pitch I'd done before this was an instant decline. Newspapers especially don't like not being able to verify who's on the other end of the Q&A.
Fair.
But pitch it we did, and to my eternal surprise, we not only landed the interview in a major newspaper, it ran on the front page of the weekend edition, no questions asked.
How do you verify that?
I still have no idea if it was really Banksy who provided the answers. But I still have a couple of copies of the newspaper, partly because I'm proud of what we achieved, and partly because I think it's hilarious and a little bit insane it even happened. As for the film itself, I'm still not sure what's real and what isn't. So I like to think of it as both a mockumentary and a documentary. I tend to agree that Banksy is too prolific and well-planned to be just one person. But whoever Terry met with that day clearly saw something interesting or unusual in him and just let it play out, tweaking things as needed. Ultimately, I think Terry is just one of those people who have drive, but no real purpose, and certainly no filter or shame.
Yeah.
He became the collective experience of Banksy and all those other street artists he met and worked alongside vicariously, but absorbed only the aesthetic and none of the message or intent. In a way, he was the right person who came along at the right time to really show the world just how disingenuous the art collector scene really is.
Perfect.
Or it could be a huge, brilliant hoax and he's in on the whole thing. I have no fucking idea, and I lived and breathed that film for several months.
So there you go. No one fucking knows.
Yeah.
That's Ben. Thanks, Ben.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Whoever is or are Banksy will take it to their grave.
You know what I know, though? We had a very entertaining conversation about that movie. So if you haven't checked it out, you should go check it out over on the Patreon.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the discussion about that because it's well done, but posed a lot of interesting questions.
I thought going into that thing, I had no inherent interest in street art or graffiti or any of that stuff. I certainly could admire the art, the talent and stuff at arm's length or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't think I was that into the subject matter. That turned out to be one of the most fascinating things we have ever watched.
It's really,
it was pretty fucking mind blowing.
It's a good one. Speaking of which, that's going to do it for the show. And we've got a whole new round of Watchcasts coming up.
Yep.
With our music block, our music movie block.
Yeah, music movies of varying stripes.
Yeah. Alex, what do we got going on?
So this will be our last month of movies before Star Trek summer hits. So just, get in there while you can. But look, music is one of those things that I am still very much a romantic about. I love good movies about the subject of bands and artists and things like that. And this is a good mix. We are going to be leading off with the documentary Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised, the Questlove documentary. And then the rest of the month, we also have the documentary Metallica, Some Kind of Monster. And we have a couple of narrative films. The 2014 film Frank, starring Michael Fassbender, Domhnall Gleeson, and Maggie Gyllenhaal. And also That Thing You Do, the Tom Hanks picture about the rock and roll boom of the 60s.
There you go.
Yeah.
That schedule is up if you want to go check it out on the Patreon. We'll get started with those in the near future here, and then, like you said, then we're back to Star Trek if Paramount as a company is still around and has not done any more horrible shit. Hard to place any bets these days. Yeah. The consolidation. Brad, I've been thinking about that a lot since you mentioned it. Like the knock-on effect of everything getting consolidated into the people who then steer into the rocks.
Yep.
But that's going to do it for our show. Let's go check out the Watchcast. We've got Never Been a Better Podcast, like we mentioned. Look at these organic mentions that we mentioned previously, where we had Jeff Bakalar and Dan Reichert on. You can check that on the Patreon as well. We've got a Planorama coming up that should be next week. I think that'll go up. Ramblecast, all the stuff that you want to check out at patreon.com/Nextlander. Alex Navarro.
Yeah.
Did you know about this tier we have over on the Patreon?
No.
It's a Mysterious Benefactors tier.
No, I've never heard of this.
Some folks been there years, and they get their name read.
And I've never heard of this?
You might recognize some of these. You know what? I'll tell you what. Why don't you pull up that list?
Okay.
Yeah. And why don't you read off a couple of these Mysterious Benefactors for us? Because I'll tell you what, as a side benefit to being such fantastic supporters of Nextlander, they get their names read on this here show. Alex Navarro, would you mind reading those Mysterious Benefactors for this?
Man, that's one heck of a benefit. That's crazy, man. All right, yeah, I'll read these names, and I'll let you know if I remember any of them.
Okay.
Apparently, our Mysterious Benefactors for this week are Sean Miller, Zach thinks Sonic 3 is a totally fine movie, RRE, Alpha Rhythm, Infelicitous Rips, David L., Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, NXL Retirement Fund, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deirdre is a vampire, Gary Peshke, Pugtato, Bunny Fiend for FIA President, Jad Rita, Statics, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Randy Alderson, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, Seymour Butts, and Tyler Treese. So Seymour I know. I'm not sure I know any of these other people.
You've always seen more butts.
Yeah, constantly.
I'm going to go with Pugtato. Like a pug and a potato.
Pugtato. All right, we'll go with that.
Pugtato.
Pugtato.
Pugtato. It's fun to say. Thanks to all of our Mysterious Benefactors, and thanks to everybody else who has supported us over on patreon.com and elsewhere. Could not do it without you. We really appreciate it. I've had a lot of fun playing stuff with Will Smith, along with you, Brad, on Mondays. We've been jumping into a lot of games. That's where we played Marathon, but a lot of multiplayer games. And Will is a great companion to have in those games. He spent a lot of time, knows the ins and outs, and way better than I am at assisting on whatever victories might be had in those games. So can't do it without your help to make sure Will's time is compensated, along with Abby Russell, who's been joining us on Tuesdays for a more adventure gamey focus time. God, we cover all the food groups. And we just finished up Alex Hill. You can check that out from this week. That Nancy Drew like, and I think we're going to move into Lost Records next week.
Who else is streaming The Last Express and Marathon back to back?
Nobody's got the chutzpah to do that.
Where else can you get that kind of variety?
No, nowhere. So thanks for supporting us, keeping that kind of independent freedom alive through our Patreon and through your support. We really appreciate that. Thanks again. That's gonna do it for the show. That's it. Switch 2.
May there be better news next week.
Yeah,
I was just responding to somebody who very kindly offered us one of their pre-orders. As a matter of fact,
it's very nice, very kind.
We appreciate people reaching out about that kind of thing. That's quite generous.
I'm still fingers crossed.
We would be paying for them, to be clear.
Yes.
We're not talking about people
free,
sending us Switches. We would be buying them off of them.
But even that offer of sending it over at cost or whatever with shipping and stuff like that is very kind. A lot of, hey, if you're looking for a Switch 2 and you're on eBay, your money, your choice. But did you guys see enough of those? Like, this is a picture of a Switch 2.
Yes.
If you're buying this, heads up, no refunds for your picture of a Switch 2, which part of me feels like there's definitely a bot scene that is scraping and going through all of that stuff.
100%.
Yep.
Those things. And if you got caught in that dragnet, I'm sure. But then again, the people who accidentally do get caught that are actual humans. And then also, I'm pretty sure you just can't say no refunds. I don't know. Can you just say no refunds in your post and then not do refunds?
They have to find you first.
I don't know how eBay handles stuff like that. That's a good question.
I don't know. Anyway, so thanks for those. Going back, thanks for those offers. But yeah, fingers crossed. Organically, hopefully, trying to get one. We'll see if it comes up. And hopefully, everybody out there, Switch 2 dreams come true as well. If you're in that market and looking out there. Thank you very much, Alex Navarro.
Thank you.
Thank you much. Oh wait. Sorry. Before I thank you, Alex Navarro, quick programming note: we may not be doing Hitman VR on Friday. We might be switching gears. We will come back to Hitman VR. Brad, do we want to say what we are switching gears to do?
Yes, I was not expecting us to get access to the Arc Raiders tech test this week.
Yes, which ends on Sunday.
We now are in possession of codes for the Arc Raiders tech test, and I feel like we've been talking enough for like 3.5 years now. I think it's been since they announced that game about what the hell Arc Raiders is. That I think we should take our opportunity to sit down and see what the hell that is.
Totally, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. It ends on Sunday, so we can't do it next week.
This is our one shot this Friday to stream it.
So yeah, we might check that out. Setting up for both of those things is too much. We're not gonna set up for VR and that thing. Yeah. So if it doesn't work out with Arc Raiders, we might do something else. But I think the VR will be its own thing. Again, we'll try and get to that another time. But just a little programming note there. Maybe I'll go change it in the schedule as well. But again, thank you very much, Alex Navarro.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brad Shoemaker.
Thank you.
And thanks to everybody out there for supporting us and for being cool. And we'll be back next week.